All right, everyone, a good evening to you. As you're watching now, right as we come on here, you saw that very bright flash of lightning in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. Looked like a pretty nice looking cloud-to-cloud lightning strike. We'll mark this time down for 10:40 p.m. Might be a nice little shot to grab, but you're coming and listening to us right now live on Facebook and YouTube. We are coming back live this evening with you as we do have a severe thunderstorm warning for all of Toledo and down into Bowling Green as well. And Zach, we've been kind of watching and waiting for these storms to kind of move into our viewing area, and they have moved in now. And based on what we just saw on that Toledo sky cam, and based on what we're seeing on radar, a pretty nasty looking line of thunderstorms coming right into the heart of Toledo here shortly, and it's approaching Lambertville, which is there in Monroe County. And I know you said there were some 70-mile-per-hour winds, at least in Detroit, as of last report.
Yeah, it's the line is really kind of maintaining itself pretty well. Uh, Detroit, I think, definitely kind of seeing the worst of it right now. It looks like the tornado warnings that were up there were canceled. It looks like so. That's good news at least. The tornado threats, like we mentioned earlier, it's not zero, but the damaging winds, potential of 70-mile-an-hour winds coming into downtown Toledo is definitely the main concern right now.
Yeah, I would second that with you there completely. And again, we're keeping a pretty close eye on this situation here for you, just because again, it's a little bit later into the evening. Not necessarily as late as last night, right? But it's certainly dangerous enough that we are concerned about the Toledo area in particular. Again, the lower left-hand corner, that is our Skycam network with Amplex Internet out of the Toledo area, and you're starting to see some pretty good lightning flashes every once in a while there as these storms are entering the area. We have a severe thunderstorm warning until 11:30 for all of Lucas County, all of Ottawa County, essentially, northwestern Sandusky County, and about the northern half of Wood County. And as you see here, and Zach, we could bring you in to talk a little more about this, but they do have this tagged considerable for winds up to 70 miles per hour. We've seen some destructive tags a little earlier, but the overall threat of a destructive severe thunderstorm appears to have at least temporarily weakened, but considerable, still nothing to mess around with.
Yeah, we saw quite a few damage reports near Lansing. Trees down. Looks like a couple roof collapse. There's a 61-mile-an-hour wind gust. But really, since then, since it's moved through Jackson and Arbor, uh, no reports that I've seen so far. So hopefully that's encouraging. That means we haven't really seen any more damage. They've maintained kind of that considerable tag pretty much all the way. So hopefully that means they're kind of taking the cautious side with the warnings, and we won't see too much in the way of damage. We do know there was a 70-mile-an-hour gust in Detroit, and it looks like there's a tornado warning for Monroe County in
Yeah, I just
Michigan
saw that
now.
pop up there. Yep, I was just kind of paying attention to that right as you were talking. I'm going to do an updated storm track here for the next 30 minutes. And folks, just understand that the tornado threat, while it's not zero, it is something we ought to kind of keep our eyes on. So moving this off to the southeast, they have it moving at about 65 miles per hour. So I think while that's a little fast, we'll go ahead and we'll go along with it. Toledo 1051, Rossford 1054, moving into Swanton at 1055, and that's far eastern portions of Fulton County there. We'll have to kind of keep our eyes on for that. Maumee 1056, Perrysburg 1056, Oak Harbor 1106, Bowling Green 1108, and Gibsonburg at 1111. And anytime that we see this type of backwards C, or this would be kind of a smiley face, really, it's kind of what we're seeing. But given the general movement of this, we would call it a Boeing type shape. Okay, you see this type of looks like a smiley face pretty much. But what's happening is you're getting a really strong surge of wind out of the north, and it's causing this to bow out. And right at the apex of that bow, which right now is from about Flat Rock through Monroe down to Lambertville, roughly, give or take, right in the apex of that bow is where you're likely to find some of those strongest winds. And what we are concerned about is some of those winds could be, 60 to 70 miles per hour, and those will be coming into Lucas County here shortly. And as of last check, they do not have Lucas County tagged for 20 to possible. Of course, we'll keep a pretty close eye on that for you as we continue to kind of move along. We're going to pull up Weather Service chat here and kind of see what we're keeping an eye on, see what Cleveland is having to say right now. Again, they issued this severe thunderstorm warning for the Toledo area Not much else being said from them right now, but these are radar indicated capabilities, so we don't have a ton of reports right now. And in fact, it's been a little bit since we've gotten any kind of severe weather report or wind damage. We're starting to get a couple of reports now. Looks like at least of a wind gust in Detroit of 70 miles per hour in downtown Detroit, that is. I know there was at least one concert ongoing there a little bit earlier this evening, so hopefully that got wrapped up in time and or folks took shelter. But this is the only warning in our area. We do still have a severe thunderstorm watch until 3 a.m. for pretty much all of northern Ohio, and it is worth noting that we may see this could perhaps be extended a little further to the south. With time, we'll have to kind of see what happens. But Richland County, I know we have a lot of folks down there. This is not an immediate threat to you. I would not be overly concerned right now. Cleveland, this is not an immediate threat to you. Finley, Lima, not an immediate threat to you. But this is kind of strictly Toledo, Bowling Green, and we'll even call Sandusky, Oak Harbor, Port Clinton. All of those locations are kind of in the path of this. And Zach, I know looks like they've issued a second tornado warning now too there, Zach, just to the north of Monroe. Not for our area just yet, but that tornado threat is not wanting to die out completely just yet.
Yeah, I'm definitely inclined to believe that the interactions with the lake there are kind of why we're seeing those enhanced spin-ups. Lake Erie does some pretty interesting things whenever a complex of storms runs into it like this. So I did see Cleveland put out a special marine warning talking about the possibility of water spouts kind of in the eastern portion of Lake Erie. So I don't know if there's any boaters out there, anyone fishing or doing anything like that, but they probably, if they are, need to start heading back to shore. They realistically probably already should have been back, but
yeah,
definitely the possibility of water spouts, really, as this entire line moves through, is definitely going to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then real quick again, just to kind of touch on this again, we are kind of concentrate on Toledo, Sandusky, Bowling Green, that kind of triangle area there. We do have watches that extend even down into New Philadelphia, Lima, Mansfield, Youngstown. You guys are not under any warning, and you still have at least a couple of hours before any potential warnings would even be issued for your location. So again, we are squarely worried about Toledo and Bowling Green, as you see the vivid flashes of lightning continuing here just to the north of Toledo. And Zach, you know exactly kind of where this is positioned. This is kind of right in the heart of downtown in terms of the sky cam, correct?
Yeah, so we are on the credit union building downtown, I believe. It's right
Okay.
next to Fifth Third Field, so where the Toledo Mud Hens play.
Okay. So yeah, so this is giving us a really good vantage point. Obviously, it's dark, so we can't see a whole lot, but Zach, it at least appears to me that we might be seeing the shelf cloud off in the distance, potentially. I don't know if
I
you're.
was,
I don't
yeah,
know
I
if
was
you were
just
just
looking at
noticing
that.
that. And I don't know if you want to pan the camera to the left any and see if maybe that kind of signature continues there. And again, a
Yeah,
shelf
I can
cloud
do
is an
that.
indication if, and I'm logged in too, so if I need to log out, let me know. Um, so basically, what a shelf cloud is kind of telling us, number one, is where that's kind of where when that passes overhead, you start to see some of those stronger winds, and it looks like we're kind of getting to the edge of the camera there. And Zach, I think that might be the shelf cloud, my friend.
I would say you are probably correct.
Yeah. So what you're seeing there, it's that you can actually see it moving, and it's moving pretty quickly. Perhaps that 60 mile per hour storm motion is actually something to be thinking more is along the lines of correct, so to speak. So this is coming right into the heart of Toledo now, pretty much. Kind of zooming you in here, kind of getting you down to almost street level, essentially. Sylvania down there. You're also looking at to Harbor View, Ottawa Hills, probably starting to get in on some of the gustiest of the rain right now. And Zach, I kind of wish it was daytime to kind of see what that shelf cloud looks like, but I would be willing to bet that's got to be the leading edge of the gusty winds right there.
Yep, I would agree. I would say, daytime would paint really kind of a completely different picture than what we're looking at now. The way the whole line has kind of maintained itself, it should have a pretty decent structure to it.
Yeah, I'll enlarge that camera just a little bit so that folks at home can kind of see. And I'll turn off the lightning strikes on radar just because we've already seen the visible lightning evidence there on our sky cam. And I know Zach will kind of move that around potentially as it gets ready to move over the sky cam site. And we'll probably get to a pretty interesting picture. And what we'll probably do is we'll probably look to kind of perhaps take that full once we kind of get a little bit closer to that time frame. So we'll kind of keep an eye and see as we get a little bit closer here. In fact, I'm actually going to kind of go ahead and kind of set that up to go full, not right now necessarily, but kind of have it ready to go so that when the heart of this is kind of moving over, we'll be able to kind of take that full for you and kind of show you. Oh, there was a power flash just happened right there on the stream. Um, that's a little concerning to me. I don't know. Did you just see that, Zach?
I did not. I
And
was
there was a
looking at,
second one, I
yeah,
think.
that one I saw. I can pan a little bit more to the left.
Yeah,
Look kind of right in between that tower, but
yeah.
if
Let's
that
go.
is the case, that is.
Yeah, let's go back to the right a little bit. Um, Obviously, in the leading edge of the shelf cloud, it's really tough to have a tornadic type signature. In fact, let's go ahead and take. I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna take the Skycam full now for a moment. And so again, right now, this is right over. Um, this is right over downtown Toledo, and you're starting to see that camera shape pretty good right now. And so again, if you're in Toledo, you need to be indoors and away from windows. And if you're watching us from downwind here, Bowling Green, Waterville, Perrysburg, over to Oak Harbor, Port Clinton, this is what you're about to see. Zach, I don't see any indications of a funnel cloud here. Um, but we saw those couple of power flashes. The one was quite bright. So folks probably need to, make sure that they're seeking shelter in the centermost part of their home. Not necessarily a tornado warning, but that looks a little scary right now coming in.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything that would indicate anything other than strong, probably straight line winds. But definitely keep seeing those flashes. So it's a little bit hard to tell.
There was another
Right
one.
there.
Yep,
Yep.
there's another
Oh,
one. Okay, and you're seeing power go out there now. Let's kind of hold. Let's go back. I'm going to add our ticker
right.
back. I'm going to put the alert ticker in, but we are seeing power flashes right now on our Amplex Internet Skycam over downtown Toledo. So let's take that back full now, and we're going to kind of just hang tight here for a little bit. Again, what you're looking at there is we're looking live from downtown Toledo from the Credit Union building there near Fifth Third Field where the Toledo Mud Hens play. We have seen a few power flashes, and we're starting to see some indications of power going out in downtown Toledo. There, we'll kind of go back and forth here over the next few minutes with between radar with the kind of the double box, if you will, and we'll kind of go back and forth between that and the Toledo Skycam in full. Let me make sure that that is full. And I believe I made that transition correctly. It should be. So again, if you're in Toledo, this is what you're seeing. This is what things look like outside right now. You can see lots of lightning coming into the area as well.
Looks like more just lost power a little bit closer to the camera there.
Yeah, okay. So we are full on the tower cam, so that's good. So yeah, I'm definitely concerned right now that we are we'll have to hopefully we'll maintain power here at the Skycam site, but you can really see it rocking now. This is exactly what we were a little bit concerned about, was this risk of damaging winds coming right in. Let's go back to radar for just a couple of moments here with the double box for you, and we'll kind of zoom it right back into Toledo here, where we're gonna kind of hang tight here for a little bit. What you're looking at there in the lower left-hand corner, again, that's the downtown Toledo Skycam. And if you're just now tuning in, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning for all of Toledo and Bowling Green, Port Clinton, Kelly's Island, North Bass Island, Oak Harbor, Genoa, Woodville, Maumee, Perrysburg, Waterville, until 11:30 tonight for winds up to 70 miles per hour. Zach, I don't think we're quite necessarily to 70 miles per hour just yet, but we certainly have got a pretty good rocking motion going right now in downtown Toledo.
Yeah, I'd say right at the moment we're still just kind of skirting the edge of probably the stronger winds. So we'll see if kind of the bulk of the storm continues to approach if we see an increase there.
Yeah, so we're kind of watching too as the storm continues to kind of move overhead, and I'm sure we can probably pan to the right as this gets a little bit closer. We've seen a couple of pretty substantial power flashes right along the leading edge of this, and now we're probably going to start to get into some of the heavy rain here shortly. But um, obviously, that just kind of validates that we are seeing some really strong winds, and obviously, probably on the order of at least 60 miles per hour to be causing, those type of power flashes that we've been seeing. Let's go back to the Skycam full now, and you'll be able to see exactly what it looks like right now in downtown Toledo, which you also see the alert ticker at the bottom of your screen that gives you all of the alerts that are active, which right now is just the one, but still kind of lets you know what is going on. Again, it looks like a pretty good wind event coming into the Toledo area right now. And Zach, that is the Fifth Third Bank there in the lower right-hand corner, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yep.
Okay. So yeah, this is coming right into the heart of downtown Toledo. You're starting to see visibility is getting a little bit lower, which means we're getting into some of the heaviest rain, and that's not too surprising. This may be in a situation where these strong winds they last for a few minutes. This may not be just 10 or 20 seconds and it's gone. This camera's been rocking now for quite a little bit, and as Zach is kind of panning the camera to the right a little bit for us. And that is the Maumee River there too, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so you can see the Maumee River there, right there by the Fifth Third Bank building there. Again, we're not seeing any other signs of power flashes just yet, but we certainly have seen a couple of them within the last 5 to 10 minutes. So let's go back to the radar imagery here just a little bit, and we'll kind of watch things as they kind of continue to evolve here over the next several minutes. Again, if you're just now tuning in, Zach Batten here with Nick Dunn. We're tracking a pretty good severe thunderstorm warning for downtown Toledo. This does go as far south as Bowling Green and Woodville, but I do think right now that the heart of this is right over Toledo. We don't need to show you the velocity imagery to tell you. Was that another one, Zach, off in the distance?
I think possibly, yeah.
Okay, so I believe that one looked a little more orange to me, but
with the rain, it's really hard to tell if it's a power flash or if it's just lightning back in the rain. But
yeah, absolutely. So again, we may be seeing some more power flashes there kind of off in the distance now. So again, that just kind of stresses that point home that you need to be away from windows. Don't try to look outside and see what's going on. Just to kind of hunker down in the centermost part of your home and wait for, just kind of wait for the storm to pass by. We'll move pretty quick. The back edge of this is already kind of coming through Adrian, and we'll be coming through Dundee here shortly, and even up there towards Lambertville. So we're kind of watching that for you as well. Again, we don't need to show you velocity to tell you how strong the winds are right now, but we're seeing some pretty good wind in Toledo. That camera's rocking pretty good. I know we don't have a weather station on top of this camera, but Zach, not quite maybe as comparable as North Bass last night, but still pretty good.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm surprised North Bass really, despite it dropping in and out, I'm surprised it hung on as well as it did. They got absolutely pounded over there a couple times, really.
Yeah, so here's a look at that Toledo Skycam back full now, and you can kind of see there's the Maumee River. A little bit of lightning you'll see kind of pop up every once in a while as well.
And real quick,
they did
add the tornado possible tag to this thunderstorm warning for Lucas, Ottawa, Sandusky, and Wood counties.
Okay, so let's go back to radar here. We'll see if we can get that tag updated here on the radar system here momentarily. But according to what Zach is telling us, and yeah, I'm actually reading the warning now, and they have just added that tornado possible tag. So, folks, if you are in Oak Harbor, Toledo, Maumee, over to Put-in Bay and Marblehead, need to go ahead and kind of treat this as a tornado warning now, just because of the fact that we've seen some power flashes on our Skycam network here in Toledo. We might switch over to Bowling Green shortly, but for right now, we'll leave it tight here with Toledo, just because this is where the worst of it is happening right now. Might go over to North Bass Island shortly here too, and kind of see what's going on over there. This is one of the nice advantages to having a Skycam network of this nature. 58 mile per hour gust just reported at Toledo Suburban Airport. That is the northernmost airport, I believe, closer to the Ohio-Michigan line. So this severe thunderstorm warning certainly validated. And again, we have shown you some pretty intense video from our Skycam network that does certainly validate that we are seeing some power flashes, and that kind of tells us there's some pretty strong winds right now, kind of ongoing at the present moment across parts of Lucas County. And again, there's a little bit better vantage point. We'll go back and I'll take it full again for you. Zach is kind of panned this back. You can kind of see Fifth Third Bank, the building there on the left-hand side. And there's the Maumee River. Looks like there's a few cars out traveling there. I'm not familiar with that street name right there on the bottom of the tower cam right there. But you are definitely seeing folks that are, at least I see a few out. Obviously, those of you, if you get caught out in this, you need to slow down, be aware of hydroplaning. And Zach, we talked about this earlier. Some spots here really cannot handle much more rain really at all because of what happened late last night and into early this morning.
Yeah, and that is the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Bridge that we're looking at down there, I do believe.
Okay.
Where we can see those cars. So, but yeah, it's when I do see that thunderstorm wind report now. Power lines blown down on Orchard Road there in the north side of Toledo. It looks like.
Okay.
So
yep, I see that there too.
New.
Yep. Yeah, so that is new. How close is that to the Skycam? Just out of curiosity.
That tracks with the power flashes we saw.
Okay.
So I'm willing to bet that is what we were watching.
That is very possible, and it was one of the nice things we can clip that back and we can send it over to the Weather Service at a little bit of a later time once things have kind of calmed down. But you're seeing now kind of an increased amount of lightning here on our Toledo Skycam. We'll take you back to radar now with the double box and kind of walk you through what we're seeing here. Again, we're kind of hanging tight with you, number one, because we've it's kind of nice to show you what's going on in real time. It's one of the nice advantages that we have here. But secondly, we have the tornado possible tags. You saw a good amount of lightning there on that particular frame there of that Skycam. So again, we have a severe thunderstorm warning tag tornado possible here for Lucas County, northern Wood County, all of Ottawa County, and northwestern Sandusky County. And again, that tornado possible tag means that the Weather Service is at least seeing some signs of rotation, but it's not necessarily enough to warrant a tornado warning. And I will say, looking from the Cleveland radar, it is just not a very pleasant look. We don't see anything very definitive or clear-cut to indicate that a tornado is occurring, but we are certainly seeing the signs of the very strong winds. We have seen the power flashes on our Skycam. We've seen the vivid lightning, the heavy rainfall. Although, Zach, it kind of looks like, at least for the moment, things in the immediate downtown area may have improved just a little bit. The camera's certainly not as rocky as it was, 5-10 minutes ago.
Yeah, I would say it is into the heavy rain, and it looks like we have a new thunderstorm warning.
Yeah, we got a big one. Okay.
Looks like there it is, Erie, Huron, Sandusky, and Seneca County until 11:45. They did tag that one considerable as well. No tornado possible tag, though.
Okay, so this is going until 11:45 now for basically the rest of Sandusky County, all of Erie County, northwestern Huron County, and a good portion of Seneca County. And again, the main threat here for damaging winds 60 to 70 miles per hour. We'll probably hang tight here for at least a little bit longer. Zach, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the North Bass camera yet. Are we seeing any lightning or anything on that one yet, if you've had a chance to take a look?
Let me check.
Might be able to kind of go back and forth.
Yeah, is some lightning there.
Okay. So briefly, let's switch over to, I will switch over to the North Bass camera so we can kind of see the vantage point here. And yeah, you can kind of see some of the lightning flashes. Very very vivid. Wow, that was intense. And for reference, Zach, this is the northernmost island, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so kind of zooming you in a little bit in terms of where this particular camera is. It's going to be up here. There's Put-in-Bay, so this is going to be to the north of Put-in-Bay. And you can kind of see this line of storms approaching Put-in-Bay and Kelly's Island and Marblehead shortly. So, and that obviously includes the Cedar Point Amusement Park area. So hopefully, if there's anybody there, you guys are taking shelter and moving indoors until the storm has been allowed to pass through the area here this evening. So we'll continue to watch. Again, this now includes a good portion of the Ohio Turnpike, too, from pretty much the Lucas and Fulton County line all the way over to the Lorain and Erie County line. So the Weather Service in Cleveland not messing around. We've seen the power flash reports on our sky cam there out of Toledo, which we'll switch back to in just a moment, and kind of take you back and forth a little bit between the two, so you can kind of see what's going on. We are not under a... Okay, Zach got that one. Okay, good. So taking you back now to kind of look at our Toledo sky cam, and I'll bring it back full for just a moment. You can see the conditions in downtown Toledo. Still some pretty heavy rain, and as you're seeing there, plenty of lightning. And the wind is certainly not as intense as it was, right? Certainly we're not seeing those indications of power flashes or anything of that nature right now. But what we are seeing is a pretty strong, severe thunderstorm kind of rolling through the Toledo metro area and kind of working its way kind of to the southeast there. So we're kind of watching that. Okay, not sure. Let's see here. I want to kind of see. Oh, yeah, I see that. Okay. So one real quick kind of housekeeping note real quick. And I see, so Owen Fritsch just kind of messaged us. And in the new warning, if you read the body of the warning, it says that there's a tornado watch in effect for the warned area. And, okay, new tornado warning coming very quickly now for Oak Harbor and Western Ottawa County. So let's zoom you right into that. That just coming in seconds ago. A new tornado warning is coming out quickly for Oak Harbor and Western Ottawa County. Zach, I don't know if you want to let Owen know that that is coming, but that literally just coming across the NWS chat now. We will see that coming up shortly, so let's kind of stand by. There's your new tornado warning now. Now we have a tornado warning for Sandusky County, Western Erie County, and Ottawa County now. And this is going to go until 11:45 tonight. Radar indicated rotation, and yeah, that's interesting. And Zach, again, we saw those power flashes, and then that's from the same part of the storm. And they're saying there's tornadic rotation south of Elliston, Ohio. Let's go over to velocity. I'm not sure where they are seeing that. Let me go over to terminal.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, it's going to be on the terminal Dopplers. Let's zoom right in. So it's broad, but it's here. Genoa, right along Ohio Route 163 and 590. They're coming in towards Rocky Ridge. It's there. It is broad, but we certainly need to be in our tornado-safe places there now in Oak Harbor and Port Clinton, Elmore, Lindsay, Fremont, Clyde, Bellevue, Castilia. Everybody needs to be taking those tornado safety precautions, which, again, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. That means a bicycle helmet or something of that nature to kind of help protect your neck and your head and other parts of your body from ongoing potentials of a tornado. According to the Weather Service, it's about to cross 163 west of Rocky Ridge right now. A little bit of a confusing message. They're saying tornado and not tornadic rotation. So I would treat this now potentially as it is on the ground. So, and again, we don't have any confirmation of that, but based on what we're seeing from the Weather Service, we'll treat it as such. And really, again, you should be taking that shelter now. Weather Service, okay, it looks like they are now being asked if this is a confirmed 20, but right now there's 163 and there's 590. I'm going to take the Toledo Skycam off for just a moment here so we can kind of focus on the tornado warning kind of in full here. So again, this is Ohio Route 163 and 590, Ohio Route 19 coming into Oak Harbor. Again, you need to be in a safe place right now. I know it is very late at night, and we kind of went over this last night. Weather Service is not calling this a confirmed tornado, but it is strong rotation at this particular point in time. So again, Elmore, Oak Harbor, Port Clinton, immediate call to action is to you. Let's put a track on this so you can kind of see where this is going. And again, this is moving off to the southeast at about 55. So we kind of track this as a line of thunderstorms for you off to the southeast at 50. We'll go a little bit faster than that. So we're looking at Oak Harbor at 11:10, Lindsay 11:14, Fremont 11:21, Clyde 11:27, and into Sandusky at about 11:30. And they are using the terminal Doppler radar out of Detroit to kind of track this. So that's where the tornado warning was based out of. We showed you that briefly. I don't want to spend a ton of time kind of switching back and forth between radar because I do want to show you where it's raining, where the worst of the weather is happening right now. And Zach, are there any other reports coming in from the National Weather Service on your end that you can see?
We do have, not related necessarily to the tornado warning, but where it did move through Toledo, tree limbs down north of the Toledo Zoo.
Okay.
So still kind of the same area as we saw the power lines blown down, which kind of tracks with the same part of the storm that is now tornado warned. So it's impossible to tell because of the rain and because of the dark, but it all kind of tracks with the power flashes and whatnot that we saw earlier. So it's not out of the realm to say that there's at least wind damage still occurring, but it'll be nearly impossible to tell if anything else is down, short of being able to confirm it on radar.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to add meteorologist Mike Joyce in here too. He said he can join for a little bit, so um, I'll get him in here. And so, again, we also have a new severe thunderstorm warning for Lake and Geauga County, kind of on the northeastern corner of the state. Just for reference, I want to show you that we have this. Obviously, it's not our top concern right now. I do want to show you that we do have that warning until midnight for Lake and Geauga County for Minter and Paynesville. Let's get you back to this tornado warning. This is a pretty large polygon. And what I want to do now is I do want to switch back over to the terminal in Detroit. And we're going to bring the Toledo Skycam back up briefly. I just want to show you that the lightning and wind have picked back up again on the back side of the storm. And meteorologist Mike Joyce is in here with us now. And Mike, we have a tornado warning, and the Weather Service is concerned now that we've got a pretty strong couplet on the Detroit terminal kind of crossing Elmore in between Genoa and Oak Harbor. I don't know if you've been watching our stream. We've had some power flashes on our Toledo Skycam and kind of backtracks to right where this originated from. But Mike, another late night with another tornado warning, the second night in a row for some of these locations like Castalia. Folks need to be taking this pretty seriously.
For sure. And I just want to make sure that you can hear me okay.
Yep, we got you.
Excellent. All right. Yeah. And really, it's that Detroit radar that we see the couplet most pronounced. And that is a terminal Doppler weather radar out of Detroit. So, I mean, we're getting a decently low level scan. And what's really impressive about this line of storms is, and I mean impressive in a more ominous way, that are a lot of areas of rotation. That's why if you're looking at maps, you may see that Environment Canada has issued tornado warnings for a good portion of southern Ontario near Detroit, across the lake. A lot of waterspout potential right now ahead of this line. But we all know it is what we call convective, meaning that these aren't just warm water, cold air funnels. These are actually potentially strong tornadoes that are not only over the lakes, so that would include lake locations that have to be watching out, but then again, what we're really looking at on land where people live is between Oak Harbor, the Turnpike. The Turnpike certainly an area of concern. Route 2 is a little north of the area of concern, but there's also an area of rotation just a hair west of Catawba that I'm concerned about as well, coming off of that Detroit terminal radar. Then switching over to the Cleveland radar, it's not as pronounced from the Cleveland Weather Service radar, but that Detroit radar is really getting a good look at it. So, and this is an area of the state that doesn't have the best radar coverage, but having it be far enough north that it's close enough to Detroit's radar is very helpful, I think, in this situation. And, another issue that we're having at the moment is it's moving southeast at 55 miles per hour. This storm is hauling. So, anyone on the Turnpike from right there, Route 250 in Erie County. So that would be the route you would take off the Turnpike to get to Cedar Point, all the way to the Lucas County line. So that's, near Toledo. I mean, that's a long stretch of Turnpike that's under a tornado warning. Fremont stretching into Erie County. So Castalia, like Nick mentioned, We're talking the city of Bellevue. So Bellevue, which is half in Huron, half in Sandusky County, you're in the tornado warning. So keep that in mind. And then it's surrounded by a severe thunderstorm warning. So that stretches as far south as Willard and then out toward Tiffin. So we really have to watch it. This storm, Nick and Zach, is moving very fast.
Yeah, it is. And you're kind of looking from the Cleveland radar. If we have any kind of spin up, it's going to be right on the leading edge. I've got the Toledo Skycam pulled back up now as lightning continues to be quite impressive. Again, if you're just now tuning in, meteorologist Mike Joyce, I'm Nick Dunn with Zach Batten. We have been tracking a line of severe thunderstorms for the last about 35 minutes. And right as it came into Toledo, we did have some power flashes being notated, and we kind of traced this back, and that's kind of right where we were seeing some of those power flashes indicated. And now, if we look at storm relative velocity, right on the Ohio Turnpike at 590, definitely an increased sign of some rotation there just to the north of Lindsay, and this is kind of right on that Ottawa-Sandusky County line, and that's right where the Weather Service is kind of getting this as well. Okay, new report now, windows blown out of houses near Rocky Ridge. That is not too far from where we were just talking about there near Elmore and Oak Harbor. So they are going to continue the tornado warning until 11:45. This is radar indicated rotation, but now again we are getting reports of windows blown out of houses in Rocky Ridge. Zach, folks downstream of us, Fremont, Clyde, Green Springs, and Castalia, starting to get some reports now. It's not necessarily confirmed as a tornado, but getting these type of reports, it's time to take this even more serious and make sure we're in shelter.
Yeah, we still haven't seen much show up on the debris tracker either, so the correlation coefficient. But now that we have confirmed, windows being blown out of houses, whether it be strong winds or an actual tornado, definitely needs to be taken seriously. Less than stellar radar coverage out here, but you can still definitely see, an area of enhanced rotation, basically between Oak Harbor and Gibsonburg, almost right there on top of Lindsay at this point.
Yeah, and here's a quick updated track for you too. Fremont 11:23, Castalia and Clyde at 11:30, and Bellevue at 11:36, Monroeville and Milan there at 11:43. If this holds together, and again, I will say that the latest signatures are not the most impressive. But Mike, the issue that we're seeing here is there's these little kinks right on the leading edge of the line, and any one or multiple of those could be producing tornadoes right now. And that even goes as far north as Put-in Bay as well. They're not under a tornado warning there, but this line certainly has some jagged edges to it. And again, any one of those could be an inflow notch.
Yeah, and to piggyback on top of what you just said, we did have a viewer out of Bellevue that asked why Bellevue is in the warning if it's still up near the lake. Well, the reason why is because it's moving so fast. This is a large area that under the tornado warning.
New tornado warning, real quick. I don't mean to interrupt you. A new tornado warning now for Marblehead, Port Clinton, Sandusky, Berlin Heights, and also now the National Weather Service is saying that there is a likely tornado near Lindsay moving east at this particular point in time. That's going to be right on the leading edge of one of those inflow notches that we were just highlighting there for you. So we now have a second tornado warning that is in effect here until will be going until 11:45. So now pretty much almost all of Erie County is in a tornado warning. At this point, if you're listening to us in Erie County, just go ahead and go to that tornado safe place now and just kind of hang tight there. And Owen is currently north of Clyde, keeping an eye on this, and so if he sees anything, he'll let us know. But again, if you are in Sandusky County and you're along the Ohio Turnpike, if you're in any portion of Erie County, or if you're in Ottawa County, Oak Harbor, Port Clinton, Kelly's Island, Marblehead, even as far north as Put-in Bay, and really all the islands even in general, be in that tornado safe place now. And Mike, as we're getting some new folks into some tornado warnings, it's probably a good time to remind folks that if obviously as quick as this is moving, if you don't have time to get to a basement, just try to get to the centermost part of your room, of any room with as many walls between you and the outside and away from windows.
Absolutely. And to continue that, again, why we see this new tornado warning is there's so many areas along this line of storms that we could have these spin-ups happening. So Again, that's why, even though the storm is not in Erie County right now, it's moving so fast that it will be soon. So that does include places like southern Sandusky County, Bellevue, and uh, very far northern Huron County. You may not be entirely in the warning, but it's coming right towards you. And when the Weather Service says they think that there may be a tornado on the ground right now, this is a serious situation. And that might not be the only spot that develops it. This could develop over the lake. So Kelly's Island, Put-in-Bay, Marblehead, all in the warning. I know there was a pretty big country music festival that was unfortunately canceled up on Put-in-Bay these past couple of days because of all the storms, the flooding, and then now you have this going on. So I want to say it's kind of a good thing because now people aren't, in crowded areas so much. That said, it's still summertime, so there might be some vacationers up on the islands taking a long weekend that we really need to warn those folks. So if you know anybody out on the islands, maybe somebody who's staying at Cedar Point, the parks are still open this time of year. So I know it's past closing now, but the hotels are probably having a decent amount of guests. So again, we have tornado warnings. Thinking of the turnpike from basically as soon as you get into Erie County, all the way to almost Toledo in Lucas County. So, Nick and Zach, these are just things to keep in mind. I know we have the webcam on the bottom left that's showing us a lot of lightning. The clouds are moving very quickly, which is one thing I noticed, and that kind of really goes to show what the forward motion is on these storms.
Yeah, and real quick too, Weather Service now saying they are tracking 2 possible tornadoes. One rotation is just north of Fremont. The other rotation is over Catawba Island. And so essentially, I'll bring out the telestrator tool again, just so you can kind of see there's a little bit of an inflow notch there right on the turnpike to the north of Fremont. You could argue that there's probably a half a dozen other ones here too, right along the leading edge of this line. And again, we have the Lake Erie effect here kind of going on too. Okay, we have these lake enhanced boundaries. Again, the water over the lake is a little bit cooler than it is inland, and so these storms are kind of feeding off of that energy that is going on there. And Zach, it looks like okay, so there's that official report there out of Rocky Ridge. Are you seeing any other reports from the Weather Service or anywhere at this particular moment?
Nothing so far. Definitely seeing a couple areas of rotation, really from kind of like Mike alluded to, Catawba Island, Marblehead, all the way down to Lindsay and towards Fremont at this point. So kind of anywhere along the leading edge of this line is, eligible for a quick spin up as it rolls through.
Yeah, one viewer, Don, just saying that sudden high winds just came into the Port Clinton area. Make sure and hopefully you're in your tornado safe place. Kind of keeping a close eye on what else we are seeing out there. Okay, the comment there about, okay, I just hid that. Apologies about that. Looking at Lucas County for the most part, you guys should be in the clear. And the nice thing, too, I just saw a couple comments, too, that folks are watching us on their phones in the basements right now, which is good. Again, we have... we are live on YouTube, and so you should have gotten a push notification if you were in the tornado warning that we are live right now on Facebook. And Owen is telling me right now that there's no lightning along the leading edge of this particular storm, and he's to the north of Fremont, so north of Clyde. So that's another thing too. If you're trying to go out and see this, and again, Owen is a trained storm spotter. He has worked with Skywarn for many years, and so I trust his judgment when he's telling us that there's no lightning to see what's going on at the leading edge of this line. It is really hard to tell what is going on. So we'll take his word there. Again, you're looking live to the lower left-hand corner. Another storm is developed pretty much right over downtown Toledo. Vivid lightning continues there, kind of on the back side of this. And there's probably a good push of wind, kind of a rear inflow jet on the back side that's allowing these storms to also kind of continue further off to the southeast. But Sandusky, your time is about up. Clyde, your time is about up. Bellevue, Milan, and Vermilon, you still have a little bit of time before these storms approach you. But really, and Mike, too, here's another issue, too. The Ohio Turnpike pretty heavily traveled with truck traffic even at this time of the night. So Hopefully, folks are, as a last ditch effort, you may just have to hop out of that vehicle, and if there's not an exit nearby, just get into a ditch and lie as flat as you can and cover your head with your hands.
Absolutely, and I wish I could say that I'm more well versed in trucking and the communication that truckers get when they're on the roads. I'm hoping that these individuals who are carrying all the important stuff that we need to keep our society functioning, that is, hopefully they are able to get these warnings. Again, I'm not exactly sure how they would, but I know CB radio is still a large thing, and with the way phones are these days, a lot of truckers probably have weather alerts and apps and things like that for their own safety. So hopefully they're finding out and finding a way to pull over and wait for the storm to pass. And of course, we always want to remind folks in situations like this, pulling if you're going to pull over under an underpass or I should say an overpass when a tornado is approaching, that's not really the best spot, because think of the overpass as like a bottleneck, and when you shove a whole bunch of air through a bottleneck, it essentially speeds the air up. It increases the pressure of the air, which therefore increases the speed. So it can actually act as a debris funnel of sorts. Overpasses are good for hail only storms, but then again, we have time and time and again where we see people stop under an overpass in the lane of traffic, blocking everyone behind it. I don't think that's going to be a problem here at 11:26 p.m., but I just hope that those folks out there that are on the roads are making good judgment of where they're pulling over, because this is a large stretch of interstate and turnpike highway that is under a tornado warning right now, and we're trying our best to convey that message to the folks stretching, again, right when you enter Erie County, the Erie-Lorraine line, to pretty much where it would reach into Ottawa County. They did pull the tornado warning back from a good portion of Ottawa County there because the storm is moving so fast. So now Castalia, it's basically there. Bellevue, you're not far away. Kelly's Island is on top of you. Cedar Point, it's almost there. It's basically there. Huron, you've got maybe 10 minutes or so. So this is a serious situation, and really a big part of this is just how fast it's moving, guys.
Yeah, that's another issue too. Yeah, go ahead, Zach.
Real quick, from a few coworkers, I know it looks like power is out in Fremont now. The wind came through pretty quick there. Strong winds in Bradner as well. And Bradner is kind of right on the edge of all the precipitation, so it does appear that maybe there's a gust front pushing out kind of ahead of the main precip. So and it looks like maybe power is just flickering in Fremont. Looks like it might be back on now. So hopefully that's at least a good sign that power did come back. So hopefully there's not too much damage. We haven't seen any other reports, so encouraging to say the least that we haven't seen anything else. Debris tracker still looks relatively clean, so hopefully a good news so far.
Yeah, and another thing too, a couple of our viewers are saying that power is out in Fremont, at least in their particular spots at this point. So we are kind of keeping a pretty close eye on what we're seeing there at this particular point in time. I'm going to be pushing out a new push notification here quickly to the rest of our viewers in Erie County, just to remind folks we are live on YouTube. I've seen a couple of folks, saying that they are watching us in their basements on their devices. That's exactly what the mobile app was designed to do. So hopefully you are watching us there, whether it be on Facebook or in the app or something of that nature. So real quick, too, just to kind of recap, not to be forgotten about, there are severe thunderstorm warnings as far south as Tiffin and Willard, but certainly we are not looking at anything severe heading down that direction right now. And Mike, it appears to me, I think if there was an area of interest where we may have a tornado, it would be kind of coming into Sandusky and Castalia pretty much right now.
Exactly. And in the right now is such an urgent thing to say at this moment, because I believe our forward speed is still 55 miles per hour. Let me take a look at the update. 60 now, especially on the northern fringe. So it's moving at highway speed right now, and that's not good, because that just reduces the amount of reaction time that we have. So yeah, like Nick said, Cedar Point, Sandusky, Castalia, Huron, even Vermilion, the Erie County portion of Vermilion there, under a tornado warning. You see a lot of zigzags across Erie County, but really, just if you're in Erie County right now, just no matter where you are, consider yourself in a tornado warning, and I'd even be looking out if you're in northern Huron as well. So the eastern half of Bellevue, Monroeville, Wakeman, along Route 20, Norwalk, you should be preparing at least to go under a tornado warning, or just anticipating severe weather, because you are under a severe thunderstorm warning in those locations. So we've got a lot of places to be concerned about, but Sandusky and Castalia are our main concerns right now. But also Clyde and Bellevue on the southern fringe of the storm, we have to watch out for, because it's booking it too at 55 to 60 miles per hour. And then next, the Cleveland Metro, which was inundated with storms last night. We are looking at the potential for some severe weather there too. So
Yeah. Hey, Mike,
go ahead.
real quick too. So two things. Number one, Owen is saying in Fremont there's some very heavy wind, and also now, and Mike, maybe you can talk about this. Weather Service in Cleveland saying that there is a mesovortice rotation near Sandusky. That's a term that I certainly have not heard for a while, but looking on reflectivity, I certainly kind of see what they're talking about. There's also a couple of donut holes there on radar on reflectivity
Yeah.
coming into Sandusky. That those are signs that we don't necessarily want to see. Those are indications that increasing likelihood of some kind of tornadic activity could be ongoing right this second.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the debris tracker on my end of things here, and I don't see anything super pronounced. I mean, maybe just on the leading edge of it. However, we could see that spike up quickly at any moment. But yeah, the donut hole, that's an indication that the air is strongly rising in that point. So what's happening is, because the air is strongly rising, um, the rain has to counteract that upward motion to fall. So it doesn't fall as hard as if it doesn't have any resistance. So that means there's upward motion, and tornadoes you form under updrafts, because it's the upward drawing of the air, and it means that upward motion is rotating, and then it gets stretched and into a funnel that could hit the ground. So that would be the area that we'd be most concerned about right now. At least it's the greatest radar evidence that the Weather Service is using for issuing and continuing this tornado warning. And you said more mesovortice or mesovortex. Basic, that was a big driving factor in the not to scare people. I really don't like to do that, but that was a big driving factor in the Memorial Day tornado outbreak in Dayton. There was a mesovortex situated over across the state line in Indiana that was really a big contributor to all the spin in the atmosphere that evening. So is this a different situation? For sure it is. We have a line of fast moving storms, but just what they're talking about is the evidence they have to continue it. And it's pretty strong evidence that the city of Sandusky, especially Lakeshore Sandusky and Cedar Point, really needs to be in their safe spot right now. So those at the hotel breakers, get to the lowest floor. Maybe some folks that might still be staying in the overnight dorms at Cedar Point. A lot of those buildings are old, and maybe not as structurally sound as some modern buildings. So lowest level interior building, because yeah, I think it's pretty much right on top of Sandusky right now. Castalia, it's almost through there now. I think we're just kind of looking at maybe heavy rain and wind. And look at that radar update we just got. Bellevue, you're next. Maybe no, I don't see any significant rotation down near Bellevue, but certainly a lot of high wind that could be coming out of this, and that's really going to be a secondary thing with this. We have so much area of straight line wind to be concerned about right now. So a lot going on. I know that was a long-winded response.
Yeah,
but,
no, and I appreciate that. The Weather
Yeah.
Service now has also issued a pretty large severe thunderstorm warning for all of downtown Cleveland, all of Lorain County, all of Medina County, most of Summit County. Tagged tornado possible for winds to 70 miles an hour until 12:30 in the morning. So That is another concern that we have too, is these storms are going to continue. Um, Kind of keeping an eye on things. Owen is currently on Frying Frock Road north of Green Springs. So we're kind of keeping an eye on what he is seeing. Again, he's been noting some heavy wind, although right now where he is at, things have weakened a little bit. But kind of keeping you folks informed downstream. Those of you in downtown Cleveland, you have a little bit of time. And I also want to point out that the lightning on the back side of the storm is really impressive from Toledo. There's not a whole lot going on in Toledo, but the lightning flashes have been absolutely incredible, kind of looking back there towards the backside of these storms right now. So, and there's also still a severe thunderstorm warning for Lake and Geauga County, not to be forgotten there until midnight for winds up to 60 miles per hour. That also probably has the best hail threat. Getting back to our tornado warning, again, coming right through Sandusky right now, there's probably quite the amount of wind, I would imagine, coming through the heart of Sandusky right now. And yeah, in fact, the base velocity indicates the leading edge of this line likely very, very windy at this particular point in time. And again, I want to kind of reset the view for you just a little bit. Okay, we are keeping an eye on Sandusky, Norwalk, Willard, Cleveland, Akron, Ashtabula, and we'll go ahead and call Youngstown in here too, just because you guys are kind of in the immediate path. If you are anywhere south of that, you do not have any concerns at this point in time. And we're not going to be talking about your area unless you are underneath some kind of immediate danger right now as well. And it looks like also to Erie County, PA. I'm not sure. Ken McNabb might be live for that one over there, but to kind of keeping an eye on things there as well. But again, just want to kind of touch base. Unless you are in one of these orange flashing boxes right now or the red flashing boxes, you do not have anything to be concerned about. Mansfield, Lima, nothing to be concerned about right now. And I understand there's a lot of questions, but we are not going to take any further questions about those areas, at least answering them for the time being. So getting you back into the tornado warning, that takes first precedence for us. Right now along US 6 and Highway 2 and also US 250, there's a pretty large donut hole here on reflectivity. I'll go back over to what the Weather Service is kind of keeping an eye on there. The reason why they issued the warning for Cleveland so early is that there's some severe winds getting ready to come on the lakeshore now. And so that's why they are kind of continuing with that. A tornado warning continues for Erie County until 11:45. That is going to be, they've dropped Ottawa County out. So this is really now just a Huron, Berlin Heights, and Vermilion threat at this particular point in time. Looks like Owen is asking us to look near Bellevue. Let's go over to storm relative velocity. And yeah, there could be a little bit of a broad rotation coming into Bellevue as well, right on the leading edge of this. It is just so tough to know which one, which one of these do you put a warning out for, or do you just play it safe and warn all of them? And obviously it's very late in the night. A lot of folks this is a school night, including for Mike, who's graciously staying up a little bit with us to kind of give his insight and perspective as well. But again, these are two areas of concern coming into Huron, and then obviously coming into Bellevue. Right now, Owen's kind of keeping an eye on that area as well. Looks like now, okay, they're not a new tornado warning just yet. So, and Mike, too, I will say the original tornado warning for Sandusky and Western Erie, that part of the line, not nearly as intense unless you're in Bellevue, but we could certainly give an all clear to Castalia, Clyde, and Fremont, and even Green Springs, at least from the tornado threat, as that part of the line that prompted the warning has certainly shifted away from those areas.
Yes, and it does seem like you said that donut hole has really shifted our focus up to the north. So even Sandusky now, you're getting a lot of heavy rain and lightning and wind probably at Cedar Point and in downtown Sandusky, but it does appear that the rotation threat is now moving toward Huron and very, very closely. I know we had a couple people mention Huron in the chat, so if you're in Huron, immediately is when you need to be in your safe spot, and Vermilion not too far from there either. So because it's moving so quickly, we'll have to see if the Weather Service opts to extend this into Lorain, maybe northern Huron County. I'm not really sure. It seems to be taking a more outflow dominant trajectory here, and I say that for a couple of reasons. One, it seems like that donut hole is expanding a little bit, so maybe the speed of the rotation is slowing down a little bit. So if you think like a top, when you or like a figure skater, if the figure skater's arms are down, they spin faster than if they are outstretched. Well, the wider the area of rotation you have, it's the same physics principle. It spins slower. So the fact that that's happening, it seems good to me, but the fact that it's still there at all is still a major concern. Velocity isn't um, as I don't see a lot. There could be a little bit of potential debris maybe near Huron, but it's very messy. So, like Nick's saying, that the radar coverage here is getting better as it approaches the Cleveland radar, but at the same time, we're still not getting the best look at the storm. But with that said, with all the factors, we're still watching this closely. I do believe that back tornado warning from Fremont to Castalia to Bellevue is probably going to expire soon. Although, like Owen said, like Nick said, just outside of Bellevue on US 20, now in Huron County, we have to watch that area as well, which is under a severe thunderstorm warning. But being the southern fringe of the storm, and the fact that there's just a little notch there east of Bellevue, might be something that we should bear watching. As the National Weather Service might potentially consider either extending the tornado warning or maybe doing a tornado possible tag on a severe thunderstorm warning. So Nick and Zach, I think that's where we're kind of waiting to see what happens here.
Yeah, I would second that. Weather Service, as of 4 minutes ago, said that they were still tracking a mesovort rotation just west of Huron along Highway 6. And again, you're looking at the amount of lightning. And Zach, is that Toledo camera now facing pretty much east at this point?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so we are looking back into the storm from the backside, and there's still a pretty good amount of energy. Obviously, you're seeing all the lightning flashes, and I've left that up just for kind of a perspective there for you. Again, obviously, I'm going to bring the telestrator tool out for a couple different things here. Number one, this is the area of concern over here on. That tornado warning is set to expire in 4 minutes, and I have to wonder if we're going to see a reissuance because that will not make it to over there to Vermilion here in the next little bit. It looks like now a new severe thunderstorm warning has just been issued downstream. This is going to be a pretty large one, so bear with me. This will include Mansfield now, and Ashland, and Worcester, and Loudonville, Mohican State Park. And they are going to tag that no tornado possible, but winds up to 70 miles per hour until 12:45 in the morning. And so I don't really need to draw a track on here, Zach, as to where this is going. Based on the warnings, we kind of see exactly where this is going. Cleveland, Willard, Mansfield, Worcester, Lodi, and Akron here over the next hour or so will be in the path of this one.
Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that the solid line has formed. So at this point, it's just going to kind of steamroll its way through Ohio, in particular, kind of northeast Ohio. The good news is nothing going on behind it. The thunderstorm watch is being slowly canceled from west to east as this line moves through. So once you get past this, other than maybe a little bit of rain, you are good to go for the night. But for everyone who hasn't gotten it yet, it's kind of... sorry, I was looking at the correlation coefficient. And north of Milan, I'm hoping it's just a weird thing on the radar.
Yeah, I see that too. Yeah, I kind of see that too. That would be in the right spot too, in my opinion. Also, Owen is saying that there certainly something going on, he says, in northern Seneca County, right on the leading edge. And yeah, I could see that there, perhaps around Green Springs or to the north of Republic. Again, reflectivity does not necessarily have to look, the most impressive to really give us a clear cut as to what's going on. But we are certainly seeing some pretty strong winds coming down towards Republic in 224. Attica over into Huron County. Willard, you guys will be next. Kind of in the path of this, and I'm waiting to see if the Weather Service is going to issue a new tornado warning. Okay, the original tornado warning for Erie and Sandusky is gone. We'll wait and see if they're going to reissue one perhaps for Erie County, at least for the Milan and Berlin Heights area necessarily. So kind of keeping an eye on that.
Yeah, and if I could chime in a second, I'm looking at that debris tracker correlation coefficient. I'm looking at a loop, and it certainly seems like there's some sort of consistent lowering of those values right where you said it was. Like if you, in the last several frames, if you follow it with the storm, it looks like there's been some, at least, anomaly there for several different frames. So maybe it isn't an anomaly. Maybe there is some sort of debris lofted, or at least something being carried in the atmosphere. I do believe the tornado warning has been canceled, though, correct?
Yes, all tornado warnings are gone, and I know you saw a big orange box go away as well. Norwalk, Sandusky, Green Springs, you guys are no longer under a severe thunderstorm warning, but I have to wonder if they're about to reissue that based on what we have downstream here for Cleveland and Mansfield and Ashland and Medina in particular. Again, you're looking live in the lower left-hand corner from Toledo. We've seen a pretty good amount of lightning tonight. We've seen some power flashes at times. Not sure if those were confirmed tornadoes being, and taking out some transformers. We'll have to kind of wait and see what the Weather Service wants to do with surveys. But again, that's courtesy of Amplex Internet there. And again, kind of showing you back behind this, there's not a whole lot going on. There's some renegade showers north of Fort Wayne, north of Bryan. But at this point in time, nothing severe, and that watch has been trimmed back. I can actually show you that a little bit. Does not include Michigan anymore, and northern Indiana continue to trim back some counties off that watch as well. So as conditions are, wow, that was another impressive lightning bolt there. You'll see that on the stream in just a moment. Again, still showing us that the storm has plenty of energy to work with as we're kind of looking now kind of east and southeast. It looks like really most of the lightning is actually on the back side of these storms and not on the front side necessarily. Again, that's one kind of interesting thing there as well. And again, the Weather Service has done, I think, a very good job tonight with these tornado warnings. Very well warranted. And at this particular point, I do not see any signs that they are going to issue a new tornado warning for any portion of Erie or Huron or even down into Seneca County. Sandusky County, still some heavy rain, so sirens have likely stopped sounding. Again, make sure that's not your number one method to receive warnings, but just kind of make sure that you're keeping an eye on what's going on in your neck of the woods here. Kind of watching, looks like Ken McNatt has joined in the comments on Ohio News and Weather. Appreciate that, Ken. Thank you very much. New severe thunderstorm warning now. Not surprising to kind of pick up on what was expired, but for South Central Erie County, pretty much Berlin Heights only, and then Norwalk back into Republican Attica down into Willard, a new severe thunderstorm. But the good news there, wind only to 60 miles per hour. So Mike and Zach, I think we are seeing a little bit of a downtrend. Still a solid line of storms, but the severe threat, I think, may be starting to diminish just a little bit at least.
Yeah, we have one of our viewers who's in Berlin Heights. Says they're in their safe place, but they do hear some wind and the lights are going on and off there in Berlin Heights. And then it looks like we also got a report on the north side of Fremont. A large tree was blown down onto a house. That comes from the fire department there. So hopefully no injuries with that.
Yeah, I worry about that. We had 2 injuries last night in Erie County. We had a tree onto a house in Shelby County early this morning, just before the pre-dawn hours, and now another tree onto a house here in Sandusky County. So certainly, folks, this is, obviously this is a reality that sometimes storms can do. And it's obviously 2 nights in a row now. We've had some pretty wicked weather across northern Ohio. So we're kind of keeping an eye on all of this for you here right now. So Berlin Heights, yeah, there's a pretty good band of wind coming through now, I reckon, based on what we're seeing there. Lorain County's some pretty strong winds should be coming on the shore now, along with Cleveland. Let's go over to base velocity. We're getting pretty close to the radar site. And Mike, what I'm seeing on base velocity is even behind the leading edge of this line, there's a very strong return of some pretty strong winds behind the main edge of that line. And that tells me there's a pretty good rear inflow jet on the backside kind of helping feed these storms. And also out over the lake, Mike, there's just all kinds of little kinks and appendages all along Lake Erie. So we'll have to watch and see what happens as that gets a little closer to downtown Cleveland and Mentor and Painesville within the next, say, 15 to 40 minutes.
Yeah, I'm actually quite a bit concerned for the Cuyahoga County lakeshore there. What happens is when these storms come off the lake, is they can often produce higher straight line wind gusts than they do over land because the wind doesn't have the friction to slow it down over land. So when the wind hits land, it's got buildings, trees, other obstacles that can slow the wind down. But over the lake, it's just flat water. So we could be seeing some 90-mile-per-hour straight line wind over the lake, especially from what I see from that velocity scan we just saw, and that's a ton of wind energy. So not only that, the lake's very warm. We have that overnight low level jet, like you said, that's feeding these storms. So we certainly could have several ongoing water spouts right now, and because of the convective nature of these storms, convective meaning strong rising air, if any of those areas of rotation or even a water spout that is occurring on Lake Erie moved on shore quickly, it could continue as an on land tornado. Typically, that doesn't happen. Typically, water spouts fall apart. But I don't know. These are strong, tall, convective storms with a lot of energy. We know that because of all the lightning that's still visible back toward Toledo. So we really do need to be concerned, and that's why the Weather Service has probably gone ahead and issued the more considerable damage warning for Cuyahoga, Lorain, Medina, Northern Summit, just because of that threat. Now, I do think once it does hit land, the wind will slow it down a little bit, but it's that lakeshore is so vulnerable to this. Um, and it's throughout Ohio history, this has been the case. Some people, folks listening may have experienced the fireworks derecho of 1969. That was July 4th, 1969. 100-mile-per-hour wind hitting Edgewater Park in Cleveland, stretching all the way back to Lorain, Avon Lake, and Bay Village, and places like that. So there, I don't want to scare people too much, but I just want people to understand that that lakeshore is vulnerable to this type of thing because of the lack of friction on the lake. The lake in late August and July and summer has so much energy to feed these nighttime storms. Like last night, where they just kept coming and coming and coming, and then once again, here we are 24 hours later dealing with it. So Nick and Zach, yeah, we're not out of the woods just yet. We'll have to see what happens when they move inland. But right now, I really do think that anywhere from Menor all the way to Vermilion, I would say, really needs to be watching this because they're coming on shore right now, and they're coming fast.
Yeah, and a couple other things I wanted to pass along real quick. It looks like numerous large trees blown down and are blocking roads in Put-in-Bay. So for the second day in a row, they got hit pretty hard. And then there's also just over 16,000 people without power across the state right now. The majority of those are in Lucas County, likely where we saw those power flashes and whatnot earlier.
Yeah, I was just kind of taking a look at that, and also we have kind of been watching an impressive light show in Toledo. I'm having to log back into the camera there, looking back towards the eastern sides of these storms here for you, kind of watching that as well. Also seeing a couple of political comments in the comment section, and guys, that's just not going to be tolerated. I know Kim McNanis keeping an eye on that, folks. Now's not the time for that. There's a time and a place, and this is not it. I do also want to point out real quick, new severe thunderstorm warning tag tornado possible for Ashtabula County, and also portions of Lake and Geauga County till 12:45. Winds to 60 miles per hour there. And so, Mike, that kind of confirms what you were talking about with, we were seeing little interesting appendages on that line, and now the Weather Service in Cleveland, or at least for the time being, just going with the tornado tag. And I think it's a wise idea until we see what happens when these storms kind of start to interact with land a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And because if we kind of see the way these storms are moving, they seem to be having like a southeasterly trajectory. I'm not surprised at all that we're seeing this stretching all the way now from about Huron and Vermilion all the way up through Erie County, Pennsylvania, up to upstate New York. So, I mean, this is a large line of storms that's affecting a lot of people. A lot of people live along I-90 and the Turnpike stretch throughout Ohio, PA, and then, once you head into Chautauqua County, New York, just to the east of Erie. So a lot of folks watching this, the lake is a mean monster, especially when the lake is at its peak temperature, like it is in mid to late August. It can really feed these nighttime storms really well and create all these boundaries and uplift that these storms need to keep surviving. So that said, I'm hoping, like you reiterated, Nick, that the friction from landing will help slow these down a little bit and maybe make them not as intense. But there's still a lot of driving force or other driving forces, I should say, like that mid level, low level moisture that's still coming in. Maybe about 5,000 to 6,000 feet in the air. It really feeds the storms. Still there. So we had that last night, and it was coming out of the north, which is why it spread over Ohio, and we saw some flooding even in the Columbus and Dayton areas. I don't necessarily know if that's going to happen again to the same capacity, as these seem to be following more of a southeasterly trajectory. But if you're in Youngstown, Canton, New Philly, even Pittsburgh, you could be hearing some bumps in the night here in the next hour and a half to 2 hours. But really, it's Cleveland downtown that I'm concerned about right now. Lakewood, especially, it's already on top of Lakewood. It's
Yeah.
about to overtake the radar here in at the airport too. And look at that, we've got a little bit of spin there, right on the mouth of the Cuyahoga River, just offshore.
Yeah, Mike, actually, the Weather Service in Cleveland showing now decent rotation, couple it offshore at Bay Village from the
Yep.
Cleveland radar at about 600 feet. And so one of those spots, I'm going to go ahead and draw it here. We'll see if they're about to issue a new warning for downtown Cleveland, but it's going to be this guy right here. Okay, remember, greens are winds that are going toward the radar. Reds are winds that are going away from the radar. So you have winds going in two opposite directions. And so that is where we would have a couplet. Again, that's just offshore of Lakewood there, north of US 20. And there's downtown Cleveland right there. So again, no tornado warning right now, but that may be about to change potentially. We'll see what happens in the next frame or two as that continues to kind of progress on shore. And something else that I kind of wanted to point out here too. Again, we've been watching the impressive light show from Toledo, kind of looking back into these storms, and that's kind of and again, we use that word impressive just to kind of from a meteorological perspective, showing you that these storms still have energy to work with. Yeah, now Weather Service in Cleveland confirming that rotation was to the northeast of Lakewood there. That's the same spot that we were just looking at. And let's look at the latest frame now that's just coming in. And wow, there's actually multiple spots. I would not be surprised. Again, another pretty good round of lightning there. I would not be surprised. They did now add a tornado tag to downtown Cleveland's warning. That does not surprise me. There are a couple of spots coming right on shore into downtown Cleveland there along Ohio Route 2 at I-90. Kind of probably be one of the intersection points for that. And Mike, really, I'm impressed even still all the way up.
Tornado warning was issued, by the way.
Okay, up there's our new 20. Wow, that is a big one. That is a huge tornado warning polygon there for downtown Cleveland, all the way through Middlefield, down to Streetsboro, Twinsburg, and wow, Mike, that's even all over into Trumbull County. This is wow, Weather Service in Cleveland certainly feeling pretty confident that the risk of tornadoes is going to continue here for the next little bit.
Yes, absolutely. And like I said, there's not really any resistance as it comes on shore. I mean, once it hits downtown, there's a lot of tall buildings. But if you really think about a city versus a 200-mile stretch of area that's under a severe weather threat, I mean, not a tornado threat, not a 200-mile stretch there, but just overall what we're experiencing tonight from upstate New York all the way to Vermilion. Downtown Cleveland's not that big of an area compared to all of that, and that's why cities don't slow down severe weather. They're just not big enough. They may seem big to us, but they're not. So anything that's coming offshore into downtown Cleveland right now really isn't going to be hindered by that small area of tall buildings. It provides a good target for damage, and a lot of people are there, but it doesn't really affect the storm. So yeah, this is going to be primarily the east side of Cleveland. So if you are east of I-77, so if you're anywhere, or stretching back toward Parma, and even I would say Parma, Brooklyn, even places like that need to be in the safe spot. Pretty much anywhere from the airport to the east in Cleveland. That's all of Geauga County too. So that's Chardon. That's going to be Hunting Valley there, right on the line. Chagrin Falls, yeah, northern Portage County along the turnpike there. So this is going to be the turnpike stretching all the way from Strongsville to, or I'm sorry, this is going to be I-480 from the airport to about where the old GM plant, the Lordstown Motors place, is in Lordstown. That's about where this tornado warning ends. So this is a lot of people, and it's because there were several areas of rotation on the lake, and the Weather Service thinks because that they're still strong and there's a lot of uplift in the atmosphere right now that this is going to cause some damage even inland. So we're going to be keeping our eye on it very for over the next 30 to 45 minutes or so. And Nick and Zach, I'm not sure if you're seeing anything else on your end, but yeah, I'm still quite concerned as this is now moving on land and probably pushing through downtown and now even starting to leave downtown Cleveland and hit some of those eastern suburbs.
Yeah, Mike, it looks like they're concerned now about another area of rotation coming onshore right now, and I am going to butcher this town really poorly. So that's Brattonhall over toward
Brattonall, yeah.
Brattonall up there towards Euclid. They are concerned about another tornadic rotation coming onshore now, not just what just came through downtown Cleveland, but the next one pretty much coming in on I-90 right now to the northwest of Richmond Heights right now.
Yeah, for sure. And in that area, we're talking about Case Western Reserve University. That would be right in that area, University Circle area. You have University Heights there. That's where John Carroll University is. Cleveland Heights is a very populated suburb there as well. There are a lot of folks that live here on the east side of town. So I-271, it's going to be there in about 10 minutes. So I would not consider travel on 271 either from I-90 all the way down into Summit County where that goes. And even this stretches as far north as Willoughby, so Lake County, portions of Lake County in this tornado warning, and that's no surprise because it's coming off the lake. And then moving inland very quickly. I did not happen to see the forward speed. 60, yeah.
Yeah, 60. Yeah. East-southeast
Wow.
at 60. That's impressive. Ken
Sure
also
is.
sharing a couple of OGO cameras, I-90 at Bratton Hall, and just the very poor visibility. And folks, I see some people out driving. Folks, you've got to find a more substantial shelter. If you're way out in advance of this, let's give you an updated track. Moving east-southeast at 60. This is moving really, really quickly. I'm going to go a little bit faster than that. We'll go 66, again, just because of the slight delay in radar. Parma, Middleburg Heights, South Euclid, Menard, Lyndhurst, Garfield Heights, and even through just 1212, moving through Solon. Twinsburg at 1216, Aquila 1214, Middlefield 1221, Streetsboro 1221, and then into Hiram there at 1225. So that's kind of another area we're keeping a pretty close eye on right now. Looks like a severe thunderstorm warning continued for Crawford and Erie County in Pennsylvania. Keep an eye on that as well. Also, a couple folks in Ashtabula County saying that they are watching us from their basement. They are kind of taking their tornado possible tag, severe thunderstorm warning, as a tornado warning. That's never a bad idea when you have that tornado tag there. So kind of need to appreciate you guys watching us from your safe spot. Those are always good testaments to have and very good things there for you. Another question I saw here for Summit County. I do want to talk about that just because the city of Akron is in Summit County, but we're talking about Macedonia, Northfield, and Twinsburg. That is it. They're in Summit County. If you are in the city of Akron, you are not under a tornado warning. The sirens could be sounding in Summit County, but it is not for you. So the tornado warning, to kind of not be remiss, includes Cuyahoga County, southwestern Lake County, most of Geauga County, southwestern Ashtabula County, west central portions of Trumbull County, northeastern Summit County, and north central Portage County until 12:30 in the morning, so 26 minutes. And this is moving east quickly. And Mike, it's worth noting some other storms out ahead of this in places like Bainbridge along 422. That is not what prompted the tornado warning. It's for this narrow line segment capable of producing brief tornadoes coming right through now East Cleveland through Beechwood and South Euclid. And that one still looks pretty compelling to me, at least on velocity. There could be, if there's not a tornado, there could be maybe some smaller downbursts or even just some, really, even just some enhanced damaging wind occurring.
Yeah, what I'm seeing the most concerning area right now is between Cleveland Heights and South Euclid. So that's going to be US 322. That's Mayfield Road, in Lyndhurst as well. So Cleveland Heights on the east side, South Euclid, and Lyndhurst. Some other roads that I'm concerned about. I'm pretty familiar with this area. My grandparents lived there for, almost 55, 60 years. So we're talking Richmond Road, Brainerd Road, Mayfield Road, Green Road, Belvoir Boulevard, all of those east side main thoroughfares. That is where the radar seems to be showing some interesting things, and not in a good way. And all of those roads are not very far from 271. So the Chagrin Boulevard exit, the Cedar Road and Mayfield exits. Mayfield Road is a big shopping area. I know people aren't out shopping at midnight, but just kind of an area of reference. If you're not familiar with the area, there's Costco there, and several other big box stores that people may be familiar with. So those are the areas that I'm concerned right now. University Heights, just to the south of this area of rotation. So that's going to be John Carroll University. And then also some Shaker Heights. Shaker Heights is in the warning. You're a little bit south of what I'm concerned about, but there's also some rotation still in the city of Cleveland. Very, very, very small areas of just some different pixelation we're seeing on radar. It's moving so quickly, it's hard for it to really get a good picture. So if you're in any of those areas I just said, just please be in your safe spot, whether it's a basement, or an interior room on the lowest level of your home. Fortunately, a lot of homes in this area, we don't have to worry too much about mobile homes, but mobile homes are great affordable housing, but they're not great for severe weather, unfortunately. Thankfully, this part of town doesn't really have that, but once we get into more rural areas, I can see that being a concern because it's moving quickly at highway speed. The speed limit on the highways in Cuyahoga County is 60 miles an hour, and that's how fast this storm is moving. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
Mike, there was just a 75-mile-per-hour wind gust at Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland.
Wow.
So,
Yep, I'm not surprised by that.
yeah,
That's not good.
no, that's not good. We may see a new severe thunderstorm warning. It could even be potentially tagged destructive, given that latest wind gust report downwind here for portions of maybe even Summit and the rest of Portage County. You're taking a live look right now from Ogo in the lower left-hand corner at I-90 and 283/Eddy Road. A lot of folks driving right now, and that is not what we want to see. Let's go a little bit further downstream here towards places like Maple Heights, and again, there's a good amount of people driving, including some truck traffic very early this morning in this area. This is not what you should be doing. I understand that it is 12:10 in the morning. This is not necessarily the most ideal situation, and this is not the best situation for anybody that is in this area, but certainly need to try to find a more substantial shelter. If you're in a mobile home, you need to try to find other places and for some other shelter there. And real quick too, these storms moving into northwestern PA as well, Erie and Crawford County, along with portions of Warren County under a severe thunderstorm warning there. I know Ken is kind of balancing a couple different pages for us. I just wanted to kind of to point that out real quick. Also, in a severe thunderstorm warning continues for Richland County, Ashland County, Wayne County, Medina County, Huron County, Seneca County, Erie County. But again, the back edge of this line, not nearly as impressive. So if I'm in Mansfield, I'm not too concerned about severe weather right now necessarily, but you are still under a warning, and also northeastern Crawford County too, not to be forgotten about. But again, if you're in that polygon or any of these polygons, as James Spann always says, we respect that polygon. We take action, and whether it's a tornado or a severe thunderstorm warning, we certainly need to make sure that we are taking shelter and moving indoors and staying away from windows. We've had reports of window glass being blown out of homes tonight. We've had reports of trees down on houses, 75-mile-per-hour wind gusts, regardless of any kind of tornado threat. And Mike, too, one thing that might help the tornado threat a little bit here, this additional band of rain that has developed here out ahead of us from Streetsboro up to Chardon might help cut off the inflow from this main line that is continuing to just rumble very quickly across Cuyahoga County in particular right now.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's going to be entering an environment that's already been a little used up by that storm activity. So that's actually going to be a good thing. And we're just going to have to see what happens over the next 20 minutes or so as this tornado warning continues. I hope that that's going to be the case. And I'm going to switch back over to velocity on my end just to see. It does appear that this is, now that it's onshore, seems to be a little bit more straight line wind oriented rather than rotation, or at least it's becoming that way, which again, straight line wind can be very dangerous. So we certainly don't want to undermine the threat, but the individual tornado threat will hopefully diminish now that it's running into that friction, buildings, trees, that sort of thing. And kind of transitioning. Like I said, land, cities, buildings, they don't kill storms, they don't stop tornadoes, but they can, over time, influence, a change in storm mode. Not necessarily the storm, going away completely, but, with instead of open flat lake, now you're running into trees and buildings. So it'll slow down the wind a little bit and kind of turn it more into a straight line wind threat. But look at that.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Gates Mills,
yeah.
Chesterland.
Yeah, Weather Service in Cleveland just notating that there were some 80-plus mile per hour winds in the Mayfield Heights and Gates Mills area. So I wanted to kind of zoom in on that there just briefly. So regardless of a tornado, there is certainly the potential for significant straight line wind damage to be ongoing. And Mike, what's interesting on that is that's on the back side of that main line. So I think that rear inflow jet continuing to kind of help aid that tornado potential on the back side, and along with that really what I would now call borderline destructive. New tornado warning coming out quickly for Ashland and southern Medina, and there it is now. We'll talk about that. Also a new tornado warning now for Ashtabula, Geauga, and Lake. So Weather Service now multiple tornado warnings now, and now the city of Ashtabula is in a tornado warning. So Zach and Mike, I think this is transitioning now to a QLCS type of tornado situation that and maybe our tone kind of gets elevated back up again. So we have a new tornado warning now for Ashtabula and Geauga and Lake, and a new tornado warning for Ashland, Lorain, Medina, and Wayne counties. Both of those will go until it looks like 12:45 and 12:45 on both of those. And so wow, look at those three very large polygons. And while the body of the tornado warning may not say this, Mike, I think it's easier now to say that we have a squall line capable of producing tornadoes and significant straight line wind damage. And it's been a while since we've seen that in the body of a tornado warning, but that's exactly what I would treat this as at this point. This is remarkable.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what they'll do in that situation is you're getting to the point that the straight line wind in certain spots is so strong that it's like a tornado. It can be damaging like a tornado. Sometimes you can't even decipher the difference between tornado and straight line wind damage. That said, that's not alone enough to turn it into a tornado warning. What you're seeing is both happening at the same time. So that's why they probably opted to make the tornado warning so big. It is really like there's rotation possible, straight line wind damage likely. Let's warn and get as many people in their safe spots as possible so that we can, even if it's straight line wind damage, people aren't getting hurt. And I think that's why we're seeing such large tornado warnings right now. We're covering bases, the Weather Service is, and we are as well, just to make sure that people, understand that this is now time to be in your safe spot. Mansfield, you're not in this tornado warning. Just I know we have a lot of viewers in the Mansfield area. You are not in the tornado warning right now, but just to the east along Route 30, heading into far eastern Ashland and then Wayne County, we've got some notches there in the line right along State Route 511. So 511 runs north-south from Ashland into Lorain County. So that includes the town of Spencer. It's basically right on top of you. Lodi, that's a big interchange. That's where the Ohio Station Outlet Mall is. Exit 204. So Lodi is in the tornado warning because it's close. It looks like there is a little bit of area of rotation south of Spencer, and then just north of Polk, another area. So with the straight line wind threat, we also have like 3 different areas, Nick and Zach, right now, where we could be seeing some rotation, and anything could spin up at any moment in these areas.
Yeah, and real quick, I'll turn it over to Zach in just a moment. But Weather Service in Cleveland saying tornado rotation near Nova, just north of Highway 224, and another one about to cross 224 near Spencer, just to northwest of Lodi. These are subtle rotations, but given the damage reports we've already seen early this morning, it is worth noting that these storms continue to pose a significant threat to life and property. So let's recap all of our tornado warnings because we have nearly a dozen counties now under a tornado warning across northeastern Ohio. So working from north to south, our newest tornado warning as we continue to see an impressive light show from Toledo. Newest tornado warning encompassing most of Ashtabula County, including the city of Ashtabula and Jefferson and Rock Creek, also into northern Geauga County for Chardon and eastern Lake County for North Madison and Mentor until 12:45. A tornado warning for eastern Cuyahoga County, most of Geauga County, western Trumbull County, northeastern Summit County, northern Portage County until 12:30. So another 14 minutes on that one. And I will say, as they've just updated the tornado warning there, they are continuing that as a radar indicated rotation. But I will tell you, regardless of a tornado threat, I do have some grave concern for areas south of Chardon, east of Gates Mills, down through Twinsburg for significant straight line wind damage in excess of 70 to even 80 miles per hour. You see these bright yellow returns on velocity. We can cue a couple of those for you, and those are all showing 70 to 80 mile per hour returns. So that is heading towards Middlefield and Hiram over the next several minutes. That tornado warning goes until 12:30, and then our newest one, encompassing southern Lorain, southwestern Medina, basically the eastern half of Ashland, and most of Wayne County, including Worcester, Shreve, and Congress. Ashland, the city itself is not in, but you're close enough. I would be taking a tornado precaution. Orville, you're in the path of this as well. 2 rotations here, one in between Bailey Lake and Polk, and another one crossing south and east of Spencer. And I would argue a new one could be developing on the backside thanks to a rear inflow jet, continuing to allow these storms to maintain longevity to the north of Polk. You kind of see a little bit of a curlicue action kind of taking shape there in north central Ashland County. So dangerous situations continuing to unfold this evening. Zach, are you seeing any new reports of anything?
So far, I have not. I did want to say the circulations with the southernmost tornado warning there near Polk, West Salem, and coming into Lodi, those circulations have been persistent. I've been watching them for a while. They haven't been strong necessarily, but they have been incredibly persistent over the realistically about the last 25, 30 minutes or so. But definitely.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I did hear from a friend on the near west side of Cleveland that there were power. This was about right before the tornado warning was issued, about 20 minutes ago, when we were looking at that rotation over Lakewood. He claims that looking northwest, that not only were there power flashes looking toward Lakewood, but also the roar of what could have been some debris getting kicked up and the wind from a possible tornado. So again, this is unconfirmed. This is just a report, but it does really line up with that rotation that came over on the lakeshore and is now still part of a tornado warned storm that's entering Geauga and Portage County. So I'd say there's a really good chance we had something there at least briefly. And again, it's just another reason why we are really asking people to take these tornado warnings seriously.
Yeah, I really can't stress that enough tonight. And Mike, too, the other thing I'm noticing, and Zach as well, the line coming through Mentor in northeastern Ohio through Geauga County, that line is intensifying. You can see the reflectivity increasing markedly as that's crossing and marching down I-90 there, moving into Ashtabula County. And folks, I've kind of got the radar zoomed out. We're going to go back and kind of give you a local one, a local look at each tornado warning shortly, but I just wanted to kind of give you a quick recap. All right, I know we've got some folks down in Central Ohio kind of wondering what's going on too. This line of storms likely to not really impact the Columbus area whatsoever. This is more north and east of Columbus. Mansfield, you're still in a severe thunderstorm warning, but I really think more of a wind threat for you, not so much of a lightning threat for you at this present moment. But you see this line of storms continuing to race southeast and not losing any steam whatsoever, and in fact, it continues to show some signs of intensifying. So let's get you back and kind of give you a detailed look at each tornado warning. We have a pretty decent sign of rotation coming into Lodi right now, and a new severe thunderstorm warning was just issued for the city of Akron and Canton. We'll talk about that here in just a couple of moments, but crossing 224 right now in Lodi, pretty good sign of rotation there. And that new warning for Holmes, Mahoning, Medina, Portage, Stark, Summit, and Wayne until 1:15 is for wind only to 70 miles an hour. We'll show that just as soon as we can. Also coming into Polk, another area of rotation continuing for you. That's about to cross I-71. There should be nobody driving on 71 between Mansfield and really Cleveland at this point in time. Working you upstream now to other tornado warnings. Again, my grave concern for widespread significant wind damage continues to be on the pretty much on the high end of things. We are seeing wind velocity returns 85 to even 90, and as you see there, up to 100 miles per hour. Mike, it's worth noting, while these returns are showing these types of numbers, we're likely not seeing all of that reaching the ground at the present moment. But again, just an immense amount of thunderstorm activity and several spots of rotation. And heck, at this point, I mean, even if there isn't any rotation going on, the velocities alone are showing us that these winds could certainly be strong enough that it doesn't matter if it's a tornado or straight line wind damage, it's going to cause a serious problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that's the kind of situation we're getting ourselves into. We're going to see some widespread damage. A lot of it is going to be technically caused by straight line wind, and then there's going to be a little spin up tornado. At the end of the day, what matters to the Weather Service when they're doing these surveys to confirm whether it's a tornado or straight line wind? Well, it's the way the damage has blown. Is it in a circular pattern, or is it in a straight pattern? But to the owners of the property, to the people it affects, it doesn't really matter. It's destruction, it's danger. Treat this like a serious situation that it is, especially for now eastern Geauga and northern Portage. And I just want to also point out just how impressive the lightning is still in Toledo. It's gonna, when these storms pass, you're going to be hearing lightning or hearing thunder and seeing lightning for quite a long time. So when the main threat is passed, you can rest easy for wind damage, but also just consider the lightning that is still going to be dancing around for a couple more hours. And while lightning can strike, certainly can, at least your threat for wind is over. And we're really focusing on these storms now in far east, northeastern Ohio, and then also that one in north central Ohio that's going to be entering Wayne County very soon. So no matter what it is, severe thunderstorm warning with straight line wind, tornado warning with straight line wind, or even a spin up tornado, please be in your safe spots and looking out for your own safety, and not going outside to look at it, because it's night. It's not going to be easy to see.
Real quick, there's a report. Looks like near northwest of Fairview Park. Wires down on Clegg Road south of Center Ridge, and a tree is also down onto an occupied vehicle.
Oh my!
Wow.
So that's near the lakeshore there. So definitely where we saw those strong winds.
Yeah.
Then
Go ahead.
I just wanted to point out real quick that there looks to be potentially a second line starting to develop back west of Toledo. The storms there have been gradually gaining strength, and there's still a good bit of energy to work with. Nothing severe so far, but something we might want to keep an eye on.
Yeah, hey Zach, I don't know if you want to turn that Toledo camera back to the west, perhaps, if we are able. I can't recall if we can do that
Yeah.
from that one or not. But it might be a good idea to kind of see. We can kind of keep an eye on what's going on back to the west as well, and we can kind of keep an eye on both storms at the same time. It looks like that. Okay, he's working on that now. In fact, yeah, we can already see some lightning from that round of storms coming in too. So that's why it is really nice to have the Skycam network that we do have with Amplex, and we really appreciate their continued partnership with us. Really important that we have that lifeline so we can tell you guys what we're seeing. As long as that Skycam keeps power, we'll keep you in the know what's going on in Northwest Ohio. But of course, we don't have anything like that in Northeast Ohio right now. But Mike, that line coming through Ashtabula, Geauga County, Portage County, coming into Trumbull County now, that is a very mean-looking line, and I would argue that that looks just as intense as what we had when we first had tornado warnings. Goodness, about an hour ago or so.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. It's maintained its strength. It's probably feeding off of that low-level jet moisture and even some those lake boundaries there as it enters Pennsylvania very soon. So this is going to be really impacting. We'll have to see what happens with Trumbull County here to see if the rest of the county gets put under the warning. Maybe even the Youngstown area, Mercer County, PA, Crawford County, PA, which Nick Ken is on streaming on oil.
He is okay.
Region weather, right?
I actually have this cross posted over there, so
gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, so we're kind of just keeping, and he may have his own feed going too. I'm not sure, but I just wanted to make sure we were good either way on that end of things. So good looking out there. Real quick too, the Weather Service is kind of watching the threat of an additional tornado warning potentially being issued downstream yet for Trumbull and northern Mahoning, and now a new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for looks like Ashtabula County, Geauga County, Mahoning County, Portage County, Trumbull County, Crawford, and Erie County. So that's the northern end of that. And Mike, based on that, and while it is tagged tornado possible, the fact that we are seeing these severe thunderstorm warnings extended way out in advance from where tornado warnings are currently in effect, that would kind of lead me to believe that we're not going to see new tornado warnings, at least as large of a polygon as we see. We might start to see them be more smaller and more concentrated type of polygons potentially.
Exactly. I think
and in fact they actually just expired the tornado warning for Ashtabula, Geauga, Portage, Summit, and Trumbull. So that's that's going to be the southern tornado warning has been allowed to expire, but based on that latest reflectivity scan, I am a little concerned near West Farmington. There could be a new inflow notch trying to get going there, also down towards Garrettsville. That's along 422 heading down towards I-80 there as well. So I just wanted to kind of point that out. And then lastly, and I'll toss it back over to you, still watching Ashland and Wayne County. This also looking a little better. Not seeing as strong of a sign of rotation over places like Congress, but still some broad rotation there along 250 and 302. That just crossed 71 at 302. That's going to be east of Ashland. So that'll be passing south of Congress there towards Worcester and ultimately down towards Shreve in the next little bit. But again, those of you here in Wayne County, I know we haven't talked a whole lot about you, but we're just not seeing as strong of signatures here. That doesn't mean that there's not anything significant ongoing. It's we just don't foresee anything right now that's jumping out at us like we're seeing off to the northeast. But just wanted to kind of touch base on that as well. And then again, the city of Youngstown and Akron and Canton, a severe thunderstorm warning tagged considerable and tornado possible for you until 1:15. And Mike, now they have that storm motion at 75 mile per hour movement.
Wow.
So these storms are racing very, very quickly.
Yeah, you usually don't see that in the summer, especially late August. A lot of times this time of year, storms are very slow moving. This is a situation where you see more in the fall and spring, where the jet stream is really enhanced. So this is really an incredible situation going on right now with the speed of the storm. So the threat is not going to last very long. The damaging threat really isn't going to stick with you long. But all it takes is an 80-mile-per-hour gust, and it can blow some shingles around, some trees down, and cause a lot of damage in 20 to 30 seconds, and then it's done. So
Yeah,
that's
and
kind of
Mike,
what's
real
happening.
quick, kind of a critical damage report just coming in out of Chardon from the fire department. There is a tree down on a house with structural damage and mutual aid being requested to Munson, 10374 Meadowhurst, with a large amount of debris on Auburn Road. That just coming in from Chardon Fire. So, with mutual aid being requested, I would tend to believe that there could be uh, multiple structures with damage potentially based on that alone.
Wow, that's not good.
No,
Not good to
the
hear. All right, so what Nick just said is just another reason why anybody ahead of this really needs to be in their safe spot, because we know this storm has produced damage. We know that there's been power flashes all the way from Toledo and then over Lakewood. Some reports of power flashes indicating that transformers are not withstanding the high wind. I'm not talking about lightning. I'm actually talking about transformers exploding, and putting a lot of people out of power. And yeah, so Ashtabula and Trumbull County, this is really on you right now. Although it does look like that tornado warning has been. Oh no, never mind. The one in Ashtabula is still active for another 14 minutes. It appears.
Yep, that one does
So
continue for 14 minutes. They did drop the one for southwestern Ashtabula, western Trumbull, eastern Geauga, and northeastern Portage, as they've replaced that with a severe thunderstorm warning. And looks like they are also expiring some more severe thunderstorm warnings. However, I just saw a couple of comments from Cleveland stating that the winds on the backside of this are still pretty intense. And Mike, I would not be surprised by that whatsoever. Again, that rear inflow jet allowing these storms to bow out, some of that wind could easily be making it down to the surface.
yeah, absolutely. And in spots that have the storms have already gone through, yeah, you're getting some strong winds still. You're also getting a lot of lightning, and you're in Wellington or New London, and the rain has stopped, but you're seeing a ton of lightning from the storms now going through Willard and Plymouth and Shelby and northern Ashland County. So the lightning threat is going to be sticking with us for quite some time as well. Again, looking at that radar, there does seem to be a little bit of a wave or a little notch between Congress and Worcester. I don't know how strong it is. I don't see any major evidence of rotation, but there's definitely something, at least some weak rotation there. Maybe something that keeps. Oh, there it is. Okay, so it's weak, but it's not. It's there. What I mean is it's there and right along 250 and could spin up into anything at any moment. So I do think that tornado warning in Wayne County is still warranted.
Yeah, it looks like local media a little bit looks like they're asking Cleveland about a potential thoughts on a tornado warning near Barberton for the Akron area. So we'll watch the leading edge of that. But right now, does not appear that they're going to issue one there. We still, it looks like they've dropped more of Wayne County out of the tornado warning. So Congress, you're clear. Still Jeromesville, Worcester, Shreve, Apple Creek, and Orville being a safe place. Again, this cell moving very quickly. It's not going to last very long. Lower left-hand corner, that is the Sky View or Sky Cam network from Toledo looking west on round 2 of storms, and then moving back into northeastern Ohio. Still have a tornado warning for Ashtabula County, including Ashtabula, Jefferson, roaming shores. This again looks more, let's see, maybe on the backside perhaps. There might be, yeah, maybe on the backside, although again, this is looking a little bit muddy and messy right now, so we could see that warning dropped early as well, potentially, as we continue to move forward in time. Looks like right now, I'm going to go back down to see if they've taken a look at the Barberton area in particular. Tornado warning for Trumbull County looks like that did expire. Tornado warning continued for Ashland and Wayne. Medina County, you've been cleared of the tornado warning there. So our tornado warning count slowly continuing to diminish. And there's a quick look at round 2 as well coming into Toledo. No severe warnings on that, but I'll toss it over to Zach briefly. Are you seeing any new damage reports or anything coming in, Zach?
So far, I am not, which is hopefully good news, but I expect we probably see more at some point.
Yeah, some of those reports can sometimes be a bit on the delayed side, so we'll kind of watch that closely. And Mike, I'm still kind of keeping an eye on Trumbull County. Just the leading edge of this line is still rather jagged, and we've seen what this has done multiple times tonight.
Absolutely. And we call that, in a fancy term, we call that a line echo wave pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, what it means is those little waves are opportunities for the wind to twist in against the prevailing storm direction. So that's where you would expect a little tornado to spin up. And I hate to use the word little when you talk about tornadoes because they're always significant, even if they're EF zeros, they can cause damage for sure. But this is the type of situation where you're going to get a blast of wind, which is damaging and widespread. But then you're also going to get a couple areas that a little tornado spins up. We've seen those on cameras before. That's what can like lift cars, throw trees, and rip shingles off of roofs and certainly damage windows. So yeah, this is still going to be a concern for Trumbull and Ashtabula, maybe northern Mahoning, the city of Youngstown. And then it's going to quickly move into Pennsylvania. So that'd be places like Sharon, PA, and Meadville, PA, and Crawford County. So that's what we're looking at. I'm really hoping these tornado warnings get canceled because that is at least a good sign of hopefully potentially less damage. But even when they do get canceled, these severe thunderstorm warnings for straight line wind are still going to be a concern. So I think we've
Yeah,
got 9 minutes left on those tornado warnings.
I believe so. And real quick, too, Weather Service just getting a report of an 80-mile-per-hour gust on a backyard weather station out of Kent.
Okay.
Also, numerous trees were reported to be hearing snapped, and that is in Summit County, if I'm not mistaken.
Kent's in Portage, but it's
In
really
Portage,
close.
okay, yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Okay, yep, I see it there. So now, with that being said, I will be curious to see if they will do a separate destructive tag warning, given that report out of Kent. We'll see if maybe if they may not, just because it's an isolated report, but that just goes to show that we are seeing still significant wind. Okay, yep, there it is now. A destructive warning now issued for Youngstown. There it is, based on that report out of Kent. So let's hang tight with this. And now what you're going to see here on radar, and Mike will have to show you how to set this up later, but Zach has kind of given us a way where we can differentiate severe thunderstorm warnings with that destructive tag to flash a little differently. So I'll get you up to speed on that in the coming days. But you can now see the separate
absolutely.
orange and red flashing box on your screen that includes the city of Youngstown, Lordstown, Warren. This is a destructive severe thunderstorm warning. So if you're in these areas, your phones are likely going off right now. Number one, from the Bell Park Weather Network app, and number two, the wireless emergency alert system. When we get these destructive tags, this is what you start to see, and you get that alert on your phone. And Mike, this is a pretty populated area, so the fact that report out of Kent, we had some reports of an 80-mile-per-hour gust and trees snapping. That does not bode well for Lordstown and Youngstown. This is a pretty heavily populated area, both in terms of people and also in terms of factories.
Absolutely. So yeah, Lordstown there, the iconic former GM plant there right along the turnpike. That's under the gun basically right now. Some overnight third shifters in Youngstown are going to need to be getting to their safe spots as well. There's about 500,000 people living in this area of the Mahoning Valley, between Trumbull and Mahoning County there, with Youngstown right in the center. So certainly a dangerous situation there. 80-mile-per-hour straight line wind. I mean, it may be straight line wind, but that's you know considerable EF0, EF01 tornado damage that's spread over a large area. So, and by that I mean a large area both in area, length times width, and then people, which are the real impacts. So, please, for those in Youngstown, Warren, Lordstown, Austintown, Boardman, Champion, Lake Milton, any of those places I mentioned, and then anyone in between, Struthers, Camel, just make sure that you're getting to your safe spot. Consider a destructive storm something to go to the basement for, is what I say. Even if it's not a tornado warning, just go to if you have a basement, go to it. because this can topple trees. This can, you know, certainly toss yard things around and make it flying missiles into windows. So the basement is still the best place to be during one of these destructive severe thunderstorm warnings.
Yeah, and Mike, I do want to give some credit to the Weather Service in Cleveland tonight. They've pretty much been right on the ball. I know some of these polygons are large, and some of them are overlapping at times, but I feel based on the reports we've been getting, these are very well warranted, and so folks have got to take these seriously as they're being issued. And I may have,
Absolutely.
there we go. So Weather Service in Cleveland, Mike, literally just echoed your message. You said to kind of treat it as a tornado warning, and they just told the media partners to kind of stress that on their side as well. Telling folks to kind of treat this as if it were a tornado warning. So I think that was a very good message. They must have heard you.
Well, we're all partners in this endeavor of trying to keep people safe here online, and our friends at the TV stations and at the Weather Service. This is really the mission is safety, and I really hope that is what is happening. I hope we're trying to keep people ahead of the storm, let you know what's going on. I know we get a little technical at times, but sometimes it is helpful to be a little bit technical, even if not everyone understands what's going on. At least we can give an explanation as to. I think it helps with so many different warnings on the map. At least being technical, it paints a picture as to why you see a red and an orange and a darker orange and all that sort of thing, and why things are the way they are in the terms of the weather world. So, thank you for bearing with me on this, on some of the technical stuff when we get there, and hopefully everyone is staying safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, getting back into Wayne County here, too, around Orville, we're watching an area of stronger wind, not necessarily seeing a ton of signs of rotation, but folks, just 4 more minutes. If you can hang with us in Wayne and Eastern Ashland County, your tornado warning will be lifted. I do not foresee a new tornado warning being issued there. And then same for Ashtabula County. Just give us just a couple more minutes, and then you can come out of your safe spot there as well. And then again, our focus kind of turns to Youngstown. Again, a confirmed report of 80-mile-per-hour winds. There's also the threat of some quarter-sized hail. We've heard some reports out of the Kent area. Spotter 1.5 miles southwest of Kent. Numerous trees and limbs snapped. Power is out in a backyard weather station reporting an 80-mile-per-hour gust. And Mike, let's not forget, sometimes our backyard weather stations are not mounted at 30 feet like, the official recording stations are. So I think that this destructive warning is very well warranted based off of the reports. And we were seeing those velocity readings even before it got into Kent, 70, 80, 90 miles per hour. So now we're starting to see some ground truth to that.
Oh, for sure. And your portions of Trumbull County are pretty rural. It's a very large county. It's a very flat county, so the wind doesn't have as much resistance out there, other than the corn and the trees in many of these areas, and then of course the cities and villages in between. So you're probably going to be getting those. The wind doesn't have much to block it. Kind of like when it's out over the lake, there's not much to block it. So you're getting some of these wind reports, possibly because of that, but also enhanced because of that. And then when the leading edge of the storm hits a more populated area like Youngstown, Boardman, Austintown, it still has the potential to produce 70, 80 mile per hour gusts. So, yeah, watching it very closely, and it's going to be at the PA line before you know it. I mean, maybe 10 minutes because of how fast it's moving. Youngstown, I think you have less than 10 minutes in Youngstown. And even more so, Lake Milton, it's on top of you right now. Lordstown, it's on top of you right now. Warren, it's on top of you. Liberty Township, Hubbard, those places are going to be getting in about 5 minutes or so, it seems.
Yeah, and Mike, this is going to be passing right over the Youngstown Airport there in southern Trumbull County, so we should get a pretty good wind reading here before too much longer as well. So again, this flashing orange and red box, that is our destructive severe thunderstorm warning. The flashing orange and white, that is your standard severe thunderstorm warning. Again, we are kind of looking at some different ways to try to help communicate different warnings to you. And I have to give a big credit to Zach Batten for kind of playing around and figuring some things out. Ashland and Wayne County tornado warning has been allowed to expire. Ashtabula County, tornado warnings have been allowed to expire. So we are now tornado warning free as of 12:45. Now we need to get through this destructive severe thunderstorm warning, and hopefully things will kind of start to lighten up a little bit here as this line of storms works its way into Mercer County, PA eventually, and Weather Service in Pittsburgh already kind of keeping an eye on that. Not necessarily sure if they're going to issue additional destructive tags downstream of this, but we're watching that for them as well into Lawrence and Mercer County as well. So we're kind of watching things closely to see how things progress there over the next several minutes. And Mike, I appreciate that. Just let me know when you need to hop off, and I appreciate your help tonight. I know you got to be back up and at it in just a few hours, so I appreciate you hopping on and helping us this evening.
Yeah, from what I understand, school is open tomorrow, which is good news. We certainly want to get our students back in class again, and it's been a very wild weather 24 hours here for our Buckeye State. And I worked in Youngstown. Speaking of Youngstown, I've worked in Youngstown for a little over 2 years, and then another stint back in 2020. And seeing this happening to the Mahoning Valley certainly isn't anything I want to happen. So I definitely wish the best for everybody in the Mahoning Valley tonight. Please stay safe. Please heed this warning and get to your basement as soon as you can. And it won't take long to ride this out because this is quick. Get down there. You could probably stay down for 15 minutes and then be done. But for the sake of your own safety, even your pet's safety, basement's lowest level interior of your home, treat it like a tornado situation, even though it technically isn't. And then you will come out of this safer than the alternative, or whatever that alternative might be. So thank you all for listening to me tonight, and I really my goal is just to make sure everyone is safe, and as this exits the valley here in the next 20 minutes or so, certainly there will be recovery in some areas, but hopefully everyone is safe and that we are going to get through this and move forward. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike. We appreciate you. And Zach, I know you're still with us here as well. Any new reports kind of coming in out of this destructive warning? It looks like they've also continued that warning, at least on a 60 mile per hour basis there into Lawrence and Clarion and Mercer counties and PA. But hopefully this is kind of the tail end of it. But to those folks in Youngstown right now, a little interested to see if you think we might have an inflow notch trying to develop towards Lordstown, or perhaps this line is trying to split. But either way, not very good coming into this area right now.
Yeah, I haven't seen any new reports from anywhere. That is the report you mentioned earlier. So it does look like maybe velocities are starting to come down a little bit. Still plenty strong, but hopefully it's a sign that as this line kind of continues to outrun the instability, hopefully that kind of rear inflow jet that's helping push these storms out, helping them maintain their strength, kind of starts to weaken a little bit, and the line as it moves into Pennsylvania will hopefully kind of start to weaken with it.
Yeah, so real quick, too, I've taken the Toledo Skycam off the stream for just a few moments here. Wanted to kind of recap for you. Crawford, Richland, Ashland County, your severe thunderstorm warnings have been allowed to expire. Wayne County, Holmes County are still in a severe thunderstorm warning as well, but that line really weakening over Worcester right now down towards Shreve. Still some gusty winds, but not quite to that 58 or 60 mile per hour threshold right now. Stark County coming in through Canton, we're seeing some heavy storms. Again, I don't think it's anything we can't handle, but right there along US 30, coming down south through North Canton, eventually into Canton, Brewster, Waynesburg, Minerva, all getting hit really, really hard right now. And looks like a report just coming out of Wayne County. Looks like some folks are losing power south of Worcester. But again, right now, I will say that just because on radar it doesn't look that impressive, doesn't mean that we're not seeing anything going on. When those types of reports are starting to kind of trickle in slowly, understand that this time of the night it is kind of hard to get reports confirmed. So just understand Worcester, Shreve, Apple Creek, heavy storms and heavy rain coming through, but certainly not the worst you've ever seen Obviously, you guys know what the derecho a couple of years ago did to your neck of the woods. Obviously, we're not looking at anything like that right now, the way things currently stand, but we're currently watching that very closely, and some reports of some power starting to be lost in Wayne County, Stark County, some heavy storms there. Obviously, the main focus into Trumbull and Mahoning County here and eastern portions of Portage County, winds of 70 to 80 miles per hour are possible here, and still getting some reports of Summit County seeing some high winds. Akron, the worst of it is over for you. Southern Summit County south of 76, still getting some pretty heavy rain there in south of 224, and then working north and east, northeastern Trumbull County, Cortland up there towards Andover, still seeing some pretty heavy wind and rain here, and then working our way into northwestern Pennsylvania, you're looking at several counties under severe thunderstorm warnings here. As you're looking downstream, Grove City, Sharon, Greenville, Meadville, Titusville, and Oil City. All of you guys, again, eventually down the road could be seeing winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour. We've had numerous reports tonight of damaged trees on cars, mutual aid requested, trees on occupied cars. So certainly something we need to take very, very seriously here this evening. So that's kind of a quick regional recap for you. As we continue to watch that in Zach, it looks like they've just issued a special weather statement for round 2 back towards Toledo, which we really have not talked a whole lot about, but that line of storms not necessarily lacking any energy. In fact, there appears to be more lightning with that storm than what we had with round 1 in Toledo.
Yeah, I would say the this one is actually going to kind of roll through my location here. The thunder has been much louder than anything with round 1 was, though round 1 missed me for the most part. Still a lot of lightning, pretty loud thunder. The rain hasn't quite made it here yet. I've been watching the BG cam, kind of pointed that direction. Still plenty of lightning. There's still plenty of energy left, kind of in western Ohio. So these storms, while they aren't severe yet, they're still probably packing a little bit of punch, if nothing else. Heavy rain where we don't necessarily need it at this point.
Yeah, I'm kind of waiting to see if we're going to start to see some flash flood warnings being issued for Toledo soon, just due to the continued heavy rainfall. So again, this is kind of a regional view for you really quick. We still have our one destructive severe thunderstorm warning in the Mahoning Valley. They're around Youngstown, and it also kind of looks like to me maybe a little bit of a mesolow moving in there off of Lake Erie, which might be kind of enhancing some of these winds a little bit into Ashtabula County. I know some folks still said it's pretty gusty up there still. So that may have something to do with that. As that line continues to kind of progress on through, you see that little bit of a swirl right over Lake Erie, and that might be kind of enhancing some of the winds just a little bit. So, but again, real quick, just to kind of recap. Okay, the report coming in, Olivia Cooper said 86 miles per hour in Greentown. I don't know, let's see where that is at. Trying to get an exact location as to where that is. Zach, you might have that before I do, but that was a report just kind of coming in there too from a viewer in the comments section there. Mansfield,
So
the
that
warnings. What? Go ahead.
Greentown looks like northern Stark County.
Okay, so that's interesting. Mansfield, I'll go back to that report in just a second, but Mansfield, the reason why the warnings were canceled for you is that we're not seeing any winds over 60 miles per hour right now. So report out of Stark County from a viewer in the comments section saying 86 miles per hour. If you could send us a picture of your weather station, we would love to see that confirmation. Not saying that we don't believe you, but we would like to see that confirmation, and if that's the case, we definitely would need to get that over to the Weather Service quickly, just so we can kind of see what's going on there and kind of get those folks in the know of what you guys are seeing there in Stark County. So again, just kind of let us know what you're seeing there at this particular point in time.
Real quick, I don't
go
know
ahead.
if you read this one out. The report near Akron of a tree down on a car in Goodyear Heights.
Wow. So I tell you, that is becoming a that is becoming a common report tonight that I don't really like to hear. Numerous trees falling onto cars. We can only hope that these are unoccupied vehicles at this point. And folks, I know you're saying that there's sirens going off in Ashland County. I really don't know why that would be the case. There are zero flashing boxes in Ashland County, and I'll move the map so you can see. Okay, there's Mansfield, Ashland. There are no flashing yellow, orange, or red polygons or purple or anything of that nature in Ashland County. So I'm not sure where that information is coming from, but there are no tornado warnings. So if you are hearing sirens, you can let us know. That's fine, but just know there are no tornado warnings. But please do not spread any misinformation about any tornado warnings being in effect for Ashland County, because that is not the case. Okay. We have not seen any confirmation from law enforcement that anything was spotted. The Weather Service in Cleveland is not monitoring that area for a tornado warning. They are not seeing anything worth noting at this particular point in time. Same thing for Kinsman. That is not a tornado warning. We do not have any active tornado warnings anywhere in our viewing area right now. I'm not sure what exactly is going on. But there are no active tornado warnings in our viewing area right now. We do have a destructive severe thunderstorm warning. That may have sent you an alarm on your phone for southern Trumbull County, eastern Portage County, and most of Mahoning County. They're pretty much around Youngstown. We're seeing some pretty heavy wind now. I will say this is even starting to break up a little bit as well. We have a new severe thunderstorm warning downstream here for Columbiana, Carroll, Harrison, Jefferson, Hancock, and Brooke counties in West Virginia. It goes until 1:45 in the morning, but looks like they have downgraded the the destructive tag for Youngstown is over. It is down to just a considerable tag now for southern Trumbull and most of Mahoning County. Another question regarding sirens. Again, there are no warnings in Ashland County. There should not be any all-clear sirens. There's nothing in Ashland County. There's nothing in Richland County. There's nothing in Medina County that is tornado warning, anything of that nature whatsoever. So again, this is why we tell you guys to not rely on the sirens. This is really frustrating. And I'm going to kind of briefly move into a fireside chat here real quick. The number of people that are relying on sirens is not good. Okay, sirens cannot be your number one source. We've got to have weather radios. You've got to have mobile apps. You've got to have your wireless emergency alerts enabled on your phone. You guys have got to have more than just the sirens. The number of people that I'm seeing that are relying on those sirens for warnings, you can't do that. We're seeing that they appear to be malfunctioning in Ashland County. That you cannot rely on sirens as your number one source. Those sirens are meant for outdoor people. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. You've got to have multiple ways to receive warnings. I'm not saying to not rely on sirens, period. I'm just saying do not rely on them as your number one source. If they are still going off in Ashland County, there is absolutely no tornado warning. There is nothing in Richland or Ashland County even worthy of issuing a severe thunderstorm warning for. So perhaps a lightning strike struck one. I don't know. But if that's the case in Ashland County, folks, just to reiterate, no tornado warning in Ashtabula County or Ashland County or anywhere in our viewing area right now. So just wanted to kind of recap that for you. At this particular point in time. So Worcester, the warning has just been dropped for you. Still in effect for southern Wayne County, northern portions of Holmes County, and most of Stark County still in a severe thunderstorm warning for winds that could be up to 60 or 70 miles per hour. Not necessarily tornado-like. We're not seeing any signs of rotation. You can see how broken up this line is. It is not very well-defined by any means. I'm going to take the Toledo Sky Cam off again just so you can kind of get a better view of things here for you. So we're watching things very, very closely here. But again, this line is very jagged, very broken, very disorganized. And so we could see the warning expired early, potentially even for portions of Stark and Holmes and Wayne County. Now downstream here into Columbiana County, still a little bit organized around Salem there towards Lisbon along US 30. He's kind of watching that very closely as well. And then moving northward here into Youngstown, I would still be in shelter here just to be on the safe side. We still have a considerable severe thunderstorm warning. This storm had an 80-mile-per-hour wind gust about 30 minutes ago across parts of Portage and even potentially even into Summit County too, working to try to confirm that for you. But there were some reports of trees and limbs and branches snapping as this is working into the Youngstown area in particular. So, but again, as you see here, that line definitely a bit more jagged, not nearly as organized as it once was, working our way up the line into northeastern Trumbull County around Cortland and Orangeville. Still seeing some pretty heavy rain here and maybe some gusty winds, but the strongest part of that storm is kind of moving away and into northwestern Pennsylvania. And then real quick, I want to talk about round two. Again, not severe, but over the next hour or two, those of you in places like Oak Harbor and Port Clinton, I know that this is the last thing you want to see. But right now, coming through Bowling Green as well, down to North Baltimore, kind of put this into motion for you. So you can kind of see how round one has exited this area, and now round two is moving to the southeast, kind of in the same areas that were just hit once again. Cleveland, your warnings have been allowed to expire. Sandusky, Lorraine, your warnings have been allowed to expire as well. So that's kind of where things are at. But again, moving to the southeast, you can see here's round two. Not moving as quick as round one, but coming through Toledo, Bowling Green, Napoleon, down to North Baltimore, and then eventually there towards Oak Harbor, Port Clinton, Fremont, and Tiffin within the next hour or so. It's not severe. No tornado warnings, no severe thunderstorm warnings, just your old garden variety, gusty winds and heavy downpours and frequent lightning as you've been seeing on our Skycam network here tonight. So that's kind of where things are. And yes, the Bell Park Weather Network app is very handy. Is very important to have. A lot of folks, as you see, they're commenting that they got the warnings on there before anything else. So that's very, very good to see. Looks like the Weather Service alerts are coming through on people's phones when it's issued and when they expire. John is saying that's interesting, and maybe that is the reason. But again, it's really important that we have multiple ways to receive warnings here for the next little bit. So let's see here.
Real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, Zach.
There's been a very large outage or a spike in power outages. We're up to about 180,000 people without power.
Holy cow! And I wonder if some of that's in Toledo because the Toledo camera just lost power. So
interesting. Most of which are Lake, Geauga, and Portage County. A good bit in Lorain and Cuyahoga counties as well. So I'm pretty sure that number is going to increase as more info comes in from where the line has just kind of passed. But a substantial jump there.
Yeah, I'm going to post that real quick. You said, what was that number, 180,000?
179,623.
Okay, we'll call it over 175. So, yeah, that is not a very good number to have with power outages right now. And thankfully, we're not expecting any intense heat across northern Ohio tomorrow, so it won't be as bad to kind of help recover, and hopefully they can get power restored quickly. But Zach, I'm noticing a plethora of reports starting to come in now, too, up and down 77 from Akron up to about Cleveland and points near the lake there, too.
Yeah, it looks like they're getting reports from various, looks like Mesonet stations, some buoy stations. Pretty much from the time the line started going through in northwest Ohio through now, various wind gusts of anywhere from, it looks like just about 60 to 70 mile an hour at various locations. I do see multiple large trees or tree limbs down on Kelly's Island, and trees blocking the road, and limbs down on power lines. Looks like an ASOS station in Youngstown recorded a gust of 54 mile an hour.
Okay.
Yeah. Looks like Mentor on the lake. Looks like where did that one just go? There it is. Some uprooted trees. ASOS station in Cleveland recorded a gust of 53 mile an hour. That was about a little over 10 minutes ago, it looks like. There's still definitely some very strong winds, even well behind this line, it looks like, especially coming off the lake.
Yeah, in fact, the Weather Service in Pittsburgh was just talking about that. We've been talking about this evening how our rear inflow jet on the back side of these storms is maintaining them and also is allowing for some gusty winds to reach the surface, gusts up to 40 miles per hour being reported around Cleveland. So, kind of noticing that as well. And again, what we were kind of alluding to a little earlier, we get winds on the back side coming in like this. They are very efficient at times, and that's why this Boeing segment has lived as long as it has. And essentially, these winds coming in on the back side, they kind of get transported down to the surface sometimes. And so you get some gusts up to 40 miles per hour. And Zach, your Toledo camera is back, by the way. This must have just been a brief hit. I'm not sure if you saw that or not. So just want to kind of recap that. And I will say, folks, while the worst of this is starting to move away from the area, I do want to kind of briefly talk about round two, and then we will kind of wrap things up for the early morning hours as things they're not nearly as intense as they were. And I am certainly not seeing anything worthy at this particular moment of continuing live coverage with at this point. It has been about 2.5 hours here. This evening, again, we are tracking a second round of non-severe thunderstorms. So to recap, what makes a storm severe: 58 mile per hour winds, 1-inch hail, or winds, or a tornado. Okay, any one of those three things can quantify a severe thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning being issued. But round two, and I'll turn the, let's go back to the Toledo Sky Cam in full. This is a look at round two coming into Toledo now, and Bowling Green and Fremont and Oak Harbor. You're not seeing much in the way of the camera shaking. Okay, earlier when we first came on, we had the camera shaking. We had all kinds of problems across Lucas County. We had power flashes, but you see the camera's barely moving at all. But there's a lot of lightning and heavy rain, so these storms are not severe. But something I just wanted to kind of point out for you. Those storms are moving across I-75, very heavy rainfall, very heavy lightning, and some gusty winds with this as it works its way off towards Oak Harbor and Fremont. Now, again, these areas have already been hit pretty hard tonight, so it may not take a ton of wind to potentially cause additional problems, but we'll kind of watch things very closely there. And then to kind of recap, northeastern Ohio, Ashtabula County, your warnings are over. Still some gusty winds and moderate rain for you. Cleveland, same for you. Akron, same for you. We still have a few severe thunderstorm warnings for Youngstown and points south and southwest. But again, the line is weakening a little bit. And as of 1:15, Youngstown, your severe thunderstorm warning will be allowed to expire. Canton, 1:15 for you as well. That will be allowed to expire. So that's kind of where things are standing. And Zach, I'll kind of let you recap with any additional reports that you may be seeing out there.
Yeah, so far just wind gusts being kind of collected by the National Weather Service in Cleveland, essentially. A lot of gusts anywhere from 45 to about 55 mile an hour, just in general. So even if you missed the really strong wind, you still probably got some pretty gusty winds that knocked off some loose limbs and whatnot. I will say the wind actually did just pick up here a little bit, and the lightning is pretty intense. Looking at the HQ camera that we have, the lightning is almost nonstop on that camera. It's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'll pull that up briefly. It looks like your weather station there is back to reporting all of your observations, which is nice. But this is located where's that, in Lucky?
Lucky, yep. Just off near the Route 20, 420 interchange.
Okay, so you can kind of see the constant lightning going on there. And again, you're not seeing the camera rock or anything. Wind is only at a whopping 2 miles per hour right now. So that round two not really producing much in the way of any kind of wind force. So again, we'll be watching things through the rest of the morning hours. We may not be able to bring you another live stream here early this morning, so please have ways to receive warnings in your locations. I know we got a lot of folks without power early this morning, and just make sure that you are staying weather aware, have multiple ways to receive warnings. We really appreciate all of you joining us here tonight, and have a good night, everybody. For Zach Batten and meteorologist Mike Joyce, Owen Fritz, Ken McNatt, our entire team, have a good night, everybody. Stay safe out there.